Time for Type 40 Live, your live stream Doctor Who show, materializing live tonight here on the Spacebook channel. Whatever time, stream, or time zone that you're joining us from, welcome. Welcome to the party. Yes, we're live right now on YouTube and Facebook in front of a chat full of friends and companions just like you, excited to hear what's new here and there in all things space and time. Welcome with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, and my companions. They're going to be along in a moment, and you, of course, out there watching along or listening along wherever you are. This is where Doctor Who, the universe of Doctor Who, the Whoniverse, meets the world of common sense. Yes, it's here. It's been here all along. Who knew? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, because you're going to be having way too much fun later on to remember. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we do this all the time, and hit the bell, that little cloister bell, so you get the notifications on the device of your choice when we're going to do it next. Good to have you here. Okay, speaking of you, who are you exactly? Let's see who's rolled in. Earlier, we've got a live chat, a full chat too. Lord Thoth, good to see you, Lord Thoth. Hi, everyone. Hi. Hello, all. Hello, Blue. Blue Bonnet Whovian there. Ahoy, shipmates from Crimpling to Bloom. A little late this time, Crimpling, isn't it? A little late. Julian Raxel, good evening to you all. Hope you're all well. Fantastic. Thank you, Julian. Hello, all, says competition winner, Daniel Leach. Congratulations, Daniel. Daniel won JT's competition, JT's bag of swag from the Doctor Who loft, didn't he, last time on the show? That was our 50th stream competition that we launched, wrapped up last week. I don't know if the things, have your prizes got to you yet, Daniel? Let us know. Hope they have, and if you do, enjoy them. Another competition coming up soon, sometime soon. Wait to see. Listen up for more of that. Like, subscribe, share, all that. Ahoy, says Cynix. Evening all. Evening, Carol. Oh, this is what we like to see. This is what we like to hear. Who's first? What's going on? Yes, we have a packed console room this time. So much so, I don't know who to bring on first. Let's go. Yes, I think it has to be our 80s survivor here, Mr. Simon Horton, looking like one of our heart tonight. I think
I don't like the way you laughed just before you brought me on there, Dan. It's like, you can take these things personally.
Well, the reason why I thought I'd bring you on first, not just because it's great to see you, because you weren't on
it's lovely to be back.
Because your scarf matches the splat behind us.
It does, doesn't it?
On the screen.
Listen, it wasn't planned. I didn't realise it. It wasn't planned. It's only just now I've popped up that I'm realising well, I don't know whether I match or whether I clash, but whatever, you've got me and that's it. And it is lovely to be back. Hello all out there. Sorry,
it's great to see you.
It's great to be back. Woohoo!
No, we've missed you. We're all nuts about you, mate. Look at the chat. They're also pleased to see pleased to see one another.
Love you guys.
Hello, everyone, says Retro Doc, Gary Akers, good stuff. And, it's absolutely buzzing there. And it's going to be buzzing in here, too, when we bring in Barnaby Jago and Charlotte Shields, too.
Hello.
Both great
everyone.
See you.
It's
good to have you both back. I mean, it's brilliant, Charlotte, back in the trenches with me after last week. In fact, we've done a couple of shows in the last few days. I mean, it's great to have you back. And Barnaby, after a couple of weeks away. What have you been up to? Where have you been shuffling around in the past, the present, or the future, or can't you say?
Me? I've just been. I don't know who to say.
Calling Barnaby.
We'll set the Celestial Intervention Agency on you.
No, I've just been auditioning, lots of self-tapes, lots of trying to find a voice agent, which has been great. So, getting the old voice back to working order and, recording a few audiobooks, really. So, good fun.
You can tell us some more about that later on, because you've got your own YouTube channel, haven't you, that people can go and they can hear you. They can fall asleep, can't they, to your dulcet tones?
Usually, yes. Usually they do.
You know what I mean. Oh God, that came out meant to. So I'm going to move on to Mark Milford's comment, who says, every Thursday evening I head to Doctor Who Type 40 Live, my virtual home away from home, taking the long way round. That's a fantastic comment. We can put that on a t-shirt, I think. Mrs. Martin uses just offers us a flower. Is that a flower for us, or is it for Ian David Diaz, the Mega Geek? What, Ian?
Yeah, he's eating again.
He's eating.
These cornetos, they don't eat themselves, you know. So whilst Ian's welcome back to Type 40 Live, and you've been away for a couple of weeks. It's great to have you back too. I hope it's nice. Whatever you're eating, I hope it's tasty.
Popcorn. That's what it is. Popcorn.
What?
Popcorn.
Oh, popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn. Yeah, man.
I'm going to
Yeah.
ask what you thought he was saying then.
I have no idea. But I bet everybody missed me, right? Yeah, okay.
Of course.
Yeah,
we did. Of course, we did.
Yeah,
And
yeah, like a hole in the
lastly-
head. Yeah.
We're all back,
And
we're all
lastly,
back
Mike-
together after quite a while. You know, this has been a while since the five of us. We're all
It
back.
Where's
has been a while.
Where's JT? Where's
It's
JT?
been even longer since we've seen this guy because I think it's been about 5 months since he was last on this show. He's the man who brought us this fantastic cartoon a couple of months ago there. And as you can see, yes, his name's on there. And his face is right here. It's our friend Matt Pott. Welcome back, Matt.
Hello, how are we all? Hi.
Great to see you, mate. Good to have you back. Yeah,
Well
so
done,
this
Matt.
cartoon, fantastic work.
Thank
Probably
you.
told you that at the time, but people loved it. It's been on the social medias 2 or 3 times. Yeah, we'll keep using it on the stream. If people keep laughing, we keep doing it. That's the rule. But how
It's
have you
true,
been,
though.
mate?
It is true.
I'd like
You never denied it.
It probably
I
is
just-
true. How have you been?
His face is so cartoony type, want to attack it. I just,
He said punchable. His face is punchable. That's what it
it's
is.
his, well, that too. Yeah, it's so smug, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's, I love when I was doing the reference photos, I noticed that his hair was actually growing like at the front, and I was like, hang on, I think he's had a bit of work done, old Chibnall. So yeah,
You could be right. Speaking of having some work done, it's very, as you can see, JT's not here tonight. He's on a mission for the Time Lords somewhere, up to something he shouldn't be. But in tribute to him, you had a full head of hair before you came on the stream. You've obviously adopted the JT look in tribute.
I did look for a couple of
From
specs,
Scotland.
but I couldn't find them. Oh yes.
Very good, actually.
Oh, we
Thank you.
do love him. There'll be more about JT a little bit later on because he has been a busy
Love you,
bee.
JT.
He always is
I'm
a
back.
busy.
People saying,
Come
"Oh,
back,
look at this,
JT.
Simon." Lots of hellos and things
Come on.
like that. Hello, all from Vanessa Law. Good to see you too.
Vanessa.
Hello, Vanessa.
Marvelous stuff. Keep the comments coming, everybody. And please, we are streaming live, not just to YouTube, the world's largest streaming platform, but over on Facebook, into the Type 40 Facebook group and Facebook page. Give them all a wave out there, yes. And if you are watching in any of those places, you may come up as Facebook user unless you hit that little blue line that says StreamYard. You have to let StreamYard know who you are. StreamYard tells Facebook, and Facebook tells StreamYard, and they tell us. And somehow, it all gets back to us, and we're all on first name terms, and it's all wonderful. And then we can move on with the list of Doctor Who topics to talk about on this edition of the show. It's going to be a packed one, as always. It's I was going to say something rude then. No, better not, because John Barrowman's literally only just got back on TV.
Yes.
Righty, hi guys, says the classic 80s fanboy. Good to see you, Carl.
Woohoo.
And Vanessa Law says, missed you last week, Simon. Oh,
Well, didn't miss me. What's going on here? Seriously. What a cheek.
I think it's because there's a lag.
Nobody misses you, Ian.
Nobody
There's a
misses me.
lag there's a lag on the chat, mate. There's a lag on the chat. That's what it is.
Oh, is there?
We'll have it.
Yeah.
Daniel Leach says, yes, competition winner Daniel Leach, as he's now known, or Daniel competition winner Leach.
Yeah.
Yes, my stuff arrived on
Well
Monday
done,
at this
Daniel.
Facebook. Good. I'll
Now, we
let JT
should
know.
just say thank you very much to JT for donating all that.
Hey.
Yeah.
At least Retro
Wonderful.
Doc remembers me.
Respect, sir.
Ian in the house, says Gary Akers. Yeah, and we are obviously, we're JT, a very, very generous soul.
Yeah.
And we thank him for coming up with the prize for you all for that competition that we ran over several weeks. It was all good fun, as it always is. And there will be more coming up. We can guarantee that at some point over the next few weeks. Yes, we're going to settle down, nestled into the TARDIS now with all our friends and companions. So yes, please, I'm going to keep reminding you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get those subscribers up and hit the cloister bell so get the notifications about where we are and what we're doing next. It's been a real busy week in Doctor Who. Now, I've been catching up a little. I've been catching up with my listening, with my audio listening. So I've been getting stuck into this. This is the new big finish. which is the third Doctor Adventures, even though the second Doctor's in it too. This is the first of these new audio dramas where Michael Troughton, Barnaby, they've got the son of Patrick Troughton in to play the second Doctor, to pick up that mantle with Tim Treloar, who's been playing the third Doctor for a time. Now, a lot of people out there, there's mixed feelings really about these recasts of the old Doctor Who cast members. How do you feel about it?
Well, they've been doing it for a long time, haven't they? From the five Doctors, onto the new first Doctor. So I'm not too worried about it. Who's John Coleshaw playing? Because he does an amazing third Doctor impression. So I'm wondering whether
he's the Brigadier in these.
I was going to say, I would guess Brig, because I think he's getting more known for that now on Big Finish, isn't he?
Yeah.
I've listened to that now.
We've got lots of people saying hello to Matt in the chat as well. That would just it's all catching
Wendy.
up. Matt Pottingsworth, lovely to see. Yeah, so I've been listening along to this, and it's got all the trappings of a Pertwee story. It's just what I felt like on these cold, sort of wintry afternoons. But as I was listening along to it, obviously because Michael Troughton's playing the second Doctor in this, and David Troughton, Patrick Troughton's other son, is also at Big Finish. They've just released this Peladon box set, Simon, where he plays King Peladon again after nearly 50 years. And I thought to myself, the Troughton brothers, both actors, and they've both got sons who are actors now too, haven't they?
I don't know, have they really? So it's a whole family thing. It is kind of nuts that the two Troughton brothers, they have kind of had this sort of Doctor Who history for so long. And it's great to see. And so, certainly going back to that other one that you were just saying about, I think to have one of Patrick Troughton's sons playing himself, that just seems... Who can moan about that? Because really, that's not in the same way that I just think it's fantastic that Sadie Miller plays Sarah Jane Smith. As I say, what grumpy soul would begrudge that? It's
you know what grumpy soul didn't like that.
I know several people.
What?
I know several people though who do feel a certain kind of way about that, and in all seriousness, I do understand why.
I get it.
I'm just not one of them. But when
I do get it.
These are two of the box sets, Simon, that I've had for a little while, in my list of things to listen to. And even though the weather's not great out, I sometimes listen to them and go for a walk or whatever. So I'm catching up. But as I've been listening to both of them, Matt, it struck me that although we've got both of Patrick Troughton's sons in there, and they've both been acting for years and years and years, I'd never seen a picture of them together, ever. Had you?
Ooh.
No, never. No, I've seen them act, and they're amazing actors as well. They're just as good as their dad. And so, I've never actually ever seen a family photo of them.
Maybe they don't like each other. Who knows?
True. I don't
so
like
me
my
being
siblings.
the diligent, so me being the diligent Doctor Who fan that I am, I had to go and find one. I managed to get hold of this. There's David Troughton and Michael Troughton together. And I thought, how nice. He'll always be Pierce to me, from the New Statesman Barnley.
He's amazing in that.
Is that a favourite of yours as well?
Yeah, one of my favourite TV shows.
Am I right in thinking, I don't know the full history here, but am I right in, or maybe assuming that both of the two Troughton sons are from different families, different mothers? Is that what it is? I don't know, because I know that Patrick Troughton was running sort of two families, wasn't he? For
running,
literally
running two cars.
So I'm just wondering whether they were. Maybe that's why they don't actually appear that often together, because maybe they're only half brothers. And they've got separate mothers, and they lived separate lives, and so actually, they don't actually meet that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's a really good question, Michael. If you're watching or listening, or David, if you've got 5 minutes, mate, let us know in the chat. Are you actually full siblings or half siblings? We'd like an answer on that before the end of the show tonight, please, everybody.
Just a text, just a personal text.
Yeah.
Would be absolutely fine.
Oh, he's texting me now. There you go. Sod off, he says.
Twitter
Sod
or
off. There
Instagram at Type40 Doctor Who. Thank you, David and Michael. Not a personal question at all. Lord Thoth says, "Hail to the panel of miscreants."
Yeah.
No. That's Radio Free Scarborough. You're talking about this. Wrong show. You're actually through to the home of the For the Love of Doctor Who, which is our mantra, really going forward into 2022, whatever's going on in the real world, and whatever Chris Chibnall, whatever he's got planned for the next two episodes, Simon, left until it's all over.
Can I please just say, before we move on from Patrick Troughton, am I the only one that thought this? With the storms in Britain at the beginning of the week, when the steeple fell off Ely
Yes.
Cathedral,
Thank
I'm
you.
the only one that thought of Patrick Troughton in The Omen.
Yes.
Oh, that would have made a brilliant gift to put up. Oh.
Yes, you are.
I
But,
thought Patrick Troughton has got to be
Thanks, Aaron.
standing underneath that steeple falling off.
Don't go near that church in London. Don't go near it because it'll
I
come
haven't.
down.
Has anybody? I have made a pilgrimage. We're going off a tangent here. Sorry, but I have made a pilgrimage to the Omen Church where Patrick Troughton gets the big. Has anybody else been? It's great to go.
Where is it?
Of course you
Where
have
is it, Simon?
It's down in Clapham, I seem to remember, isn't it?
It is.
In Clapham.
Yes, it is in
And
Clapham.
and
I go past
there,
it. Yeah.
Right there, right by where the church is the walk. You know where you see Patrick Troughton, where Gregory Peck, Patrick Troughton sitting by the river on the bench. That's right next to the church.
Yeah,
as
it is.
well.
Yeah.
The geography is exactly as it appears in the film.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. If you ever get a chance, that's my recommendation. Go and find the church. Google it. You'll find, you remember the name of it, Ian?
Don't go under it because you'll.
Don't go under it.
Yeah.
Come down.
Yeah, right there.
Anyway, sorry.
Blue Planet is one of the ones that says that he doesn't like the recasts either on those audios. And James A. Fitzpatrick says, if people enjoy those audios, they can recast the Docks if they like. I think that's it. People don't.
I'm just waiting for Barnaby to be playing the Brigadier or something or whatever. Yeah, that would be
Only John
interesting.
Colshaw's taken it. He's too good. I'll play Peter.
You play Peter.
Peter Davidson.
Which is the Troughton that was in Midnight, though, Barnaby? Can you remember which one of them?
Oh, that wasn't Michael. Must have been David.
I think it's David.
Because Michael was in the one with the spiders coming down, the Capaldi one.
Yeah.
It must have been David. Yeah.
True. I keep forgetting that Michael Troughton made it through to the show.
Yeah. I think he was one of the first to die as well, which I was really annoyed about.
Richard
no,
Brooks
he
is
just killed
watching.
Michael Troughton. You need him to make a much bigger part. He's like part of Doctor Who lore. Ridiculous.
Correct.
Richard Brooks is watching, and all this talk of Troughtons losing their heads has not put him off his Lancashire hot pot, which he's eating right now. Do you know what a hot pot is down there, Matt?
No, I don't actually.
It's a pot that's hot, Matt.
You put
It's
it in
a
your
pot that's
toaster?
hot. Yeah.
We have an answer, Matt. We have an answer. Troughton started living a double life when, just after the birth of his third child in 1955, he chose to leave Dunlop and their 3 children, then aged 8, 5, and a few months. So that's from Carol Jude watching on YouTube.
Wow.
So he left to live with his girlfriend Ethel Margaret Bunny Newens, with whom he also went on to have
It's a
3
name that needs to
children.
come back into style, isn't it, Ethel?
It does, doesn't it? So, Carol, what we need to
Bring
know
back
then.
Ethel.
Ethel, as for the new companion. Come on.
Goes on.
Wow, it's like a
Carol,
whole biography here.
Carol has read Troughton's autobiography, or maybe she's written it. There's lots of info in the chat, which we may have to go back on at a later date. But thank you for coming up with that, Carol.
Brilliant.
Fascinating stuff. He was a very interested and complicated man. As most of the most interesting people are quite complicated, wouldn't you say, Charlotte?
Oh yeah, and I think he came across very eccentric with his doctor, so it makes sense in real life. He was very eccentric as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have a feeling that the double life he was leading, I think, might have been secret for a while. Both families, I'm not sure, actually knew about the existence of the other family, I think, but I could be wrong on that.
Actors are crazy, though. Actors are just
Such a
crazy.
good actor.
Seriously.
We're mad.
Barnaby.
Thank you, Mad.
People are far more interesting than the sensible people. Don't we just love crazy people more than sensible?
We do. We definitely love crazy people.
Well, a lot of the cast of Doctor Who are so mad that they went over to the world's largest Doctor Who convention this weekend just gone. That was Gallifrey One, the 32nd annual Gallifrey One convention that's held in Los Angeles at what's the hotel called? The Marriott.
Airport. Yeah.
The Marriott Los Angeles Airport Hotel.
We still haven't had our invites to this, have we, Dan? We're still waiting for the invite to go over.
Get our own panel.
Again.
What's going on, Sean?
I don't like that logo. I think that logo sucks,
They
basically.
change it if you think that's bad, you should
Well,
wait
that's
to see the one
blown
they've
our
got next
invitation
year.
now. Thank you, Ian.
They change it every year, and everyone is worse than the last one. Like, taste
Really?
is no object at all. But yeah, the convention went on at the weekend. Now, I think in the last couple of years, it has. In fact, they may have had to cancel it one year and did it online or something like that. But they've persevered through the pandemic, and sure enough, a horde of Doctor Who fans and people from behind and in front of the camera. They were all on stage taking questions from an audience. The way that
Who was on stage?
well, we're gonna come to that in a couple of minutes, because there's lots of little morsels that came out from that event, and we're going to get onto some of the more salacious stuff a little later in the show. But yeah, there's lots and lots of actors and lots of writers and production personnel and people who work on that expanded media stuff. So Big Finish were there, Cutaway Comics were there. Hi, Gareth. All those people that you would call expanded universe. That's what they call it in Star Wars. So I think that's a pretty good term. But we have where is it? One moment. Yes. So what we have here is for your delectation a little bit of the flavour of Gallifrey One this year for you to look at. But yeah, there was all manner of cast members. For Sylvester McCoy there, I think he opened things up there. Bounded out of the TARDIS to reception of fellow Seventh Doctors, as you'd expect. So this is the kind of thing you get these places.
Look at his face mask. That's brilliant.
Lots of cosplay. Yeah, I noticed that. Dear old Michael Jaston there, Simon.
Oh, wow.
Nice to see him. Nice to see him.
Very proud to say I drove Michael Jaston around Yorkshire actually for a whole week back in my early days in television.
Oh, wow.
I never had the guts to sell him. I love Doctor Who.
Oh God, why? Why is this guy here?
Because he's one of the few good things to come out of the current era.
He is.
Nothing is good coming out of the current era.
Maybe.
We've got a selection of
David
10th Doctors there doing the Spider-Man meme. I think that's what they're doing, where there's three different Spider-Men looking at one another in the alleyway there.
Okay.
So there's a lot of cosplay is a stock trade of these conventions. Barnaby, you're a cosplayer, aren't you?
Bad Colin Baker.
Yeah,
week.
absolutely.
Sorry,
I want his jacket.
Colin Baker week.
Then again,
take it off the screen.
Fugitives there.
Yeah, gone.
Sophia Miles, your friend Sophia Miles there.
Yeah,
Ian, with Sylvester McCoy. Draconians.
oh, that's
That
brilliant.
is a good Draconian.
It's a fantastic
Wow.
Draconian.
That's superb.
Draconians, Adipose, they were all there, and lots of those writers. That's the writers panel with Gary Russell and Matthew Sweet and people like that on there. JT would love this, wouldn't he? JT would love that Muppet there, and there's
put your picture back on.
Berries, please. Thank you.
Oh wow!
Hey.
Oh wow! Brilliant.
Those are superb.
Fraser
Is that-
Hines and Sylvester
I don't want
McCoy
to
there
see the
taking
old
questions,
buddies.
Simon.
Yeah, dear old Fraser. Gary
Russell trying to drum up money there for the animations to come back.
Interesting.
Another writers panel. So yeah, it seems busy-ish from these pictures, wouldn't you say? And there's Mandip Gill. Now this did throw me. Apparently she was hunting round for a Yaz cosplayer, and she herself went as Hetty Wainthropp, which I thought was a surprise choice for Mandip Gill. And there she was, Joe Martin having a hug. Yes, it was all kicking off. Now apparently attendance was down at this event.
Wow, what a surprise!
I would like to know if there are people, that are watching along on YouTube or Facebook or listening to the podcast. Let us know if you went to Gallifrey One this year. Drop us a comment and tell us if you had a good time or not. Yeah, and that we had a union there of masters.
Brilliant.
Eric Roberts.
His
and
ears
Sacha
keep
Dhawan.
growing.
I'm sorry, Eric Roberts will trump Sacha Dhawan any day as far as I'm
Roberts is
concerned.
Nothing from the Jodie era is worth even talking about. Put it that way. So there you go.
So that was that. I mean, I do hear that a couple of years ago. Have you ever been to Gallifrey One, Matt? Because I know that you have been to the stage. You know, you do conventions, don't you? In mainland
I've been to
Australia?
Comic-Con in America. That's the biggest one ever.
Yeah.
And it's the size of 3 football parks. It's massive.
Oh,
And yeah, it takes a couple of hours to actually walk from one end to the other.
Really?
They didn't actually have any Doctor Who people when I was there.
Thanks, Richard.
It wasn't, even though it had just come back. But they had someone from Primeval. Actually, I'd never thought I'd meet someone from Primeval. But
At Comic-Con.
yeah, at Comic-Con. It was during its second year. They were
What year
promoting
was it? What year was it?
2008.
Oh,
That one. So yeah, and actually it was a year after that they actually had David Tennant and that come over, and I want to go back. But anyway, I've been to the American one once, and I've been to Australian ones hundreds and hundreds of times. But I must say I prefer the small 100 people type conventions where you actually, and they're the ones that I've been to for the Doctor Who ones. I find them more personal, and you can actually just sit in a room with the actual actor and he'll just talk to you, rather than to a crowd. And when the last one I ever went to was the one with Peter Capaldi in his just after he'd left the role, and I haven't actually seen that final episode that he was in. But I
don't
love
bother.
Capaldi, and I know. Well, no,
Don't
he doesn't. It doesn't exist to me. He just flew up in the TARDIS, and that was
Same
it.
here.
Yeah. But it's but he was mobbed. It was so packed. It was like we literally, me and my nephews who went because they were huge Capaldi fans too. We got the last seats. And it was just an entire crowded room. There was no way of getting to actually meet him. It was just bedlam there, and I'll never ever forget it. But he was wonderful. I love Capaldi and as a person as well. Oh my god!
I know that a lot's happened in the time between then and now, Matt, and the conventions. In all seriousness, the convention scene is only just starting to open up. I mean, there was a mask mandate at Gallifrey One this year, as we could tell by some of those photographs. Melina Vader says, I wish I could go to some of these events. And people asking, did Gary Akers, the Retro Doc, did he go? And I was wondering that myself, Gary. And Gary puts an answer here in the chat and says, I went every year until 2019. But then I couldn't take the concentration on Chibnall era Who anymore. Oh, that's it. It wasn't the pandemic.
No, that was my last year. And mind you, though, I've got to admit, Dan, that also they pretty much stopped getting in Doctor Who actors after Capaldi. There hasn't been one Doctor Who actor that have actually flown to come over,
I went to one once where Sylvester McCoy was there, and me and my brother didn't like his Doctor, so we didn't stay. I know he was on stage, but we just went home because we didn't really like Sylvester McCoy. So
I met Sylvester McCoy, and I tell you what, he literally put on a show for me.
Did
just he? For me.
With his spoons? With his spoons?
There was no one. No. He was actually playing with the TARDIS. But I was in this room with McCoy on his own, and he was so much in character. And like
I don't
he was
doubt it.
Bumping himself into the doors and everything like that. And I was
don't think he's ever
I'm
not
the
in
only
character.
one in here with him.
I don't think he's ever not in character, Barnaby. You're a big fan of
He won me
Sylvester's,
over
aren't you?
that day. Sorry, Barnaby.
Who, me?
Yes,
he's speaking to
Yeah,
you.
huge
You're a
fan of
big fan
Sylvester. I love the spoons. I love the spoons.
Oh,
and all
shut
that.
up.
Bumping
I
into
do
them. It's
too.
brilliant. I love it. The space age spoons as well.
Oh, for God's
I love
sake.
that.
I
He's
do
such an
too.
entertainer. Just every time he
That's
comes
when
on,
Doctor
he
Who
just smiles and
died,
starts
when they
smiling.
got him on. Seriously.
Hey, well, I've got something that will cheer you. Let's cheer Ian up. We've got an invitation. All of us have been invited to Puerto Rico here, courtesy of our friend Melina Vader. They're watching on YouTube. Good to see you, Mina. And be careful what you wish for. If the plane drops out to the sky onto a landing strip and all of us roll out, you may end up regretting
We could go do a show from Puerto Rico, couldn't we? Come on the beach. Come on.
I don't see why.
Ian's getting his pilot license.
That's right.
The
We're all going to die.
Wendology is watching. The Department of Wendology is watching, and Wendy from the department, she agrees with you here, Matt. Says, I always enjoyed those smaller cons. It makes you feel like you get so much more out of
You
them.
do.
Yeah.
So I've been
It's
to more
or less
small
one
and
to
large
one
ones.
kind of thing. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, so that's Gallifrey One for this year. But obviously they have started talking about next year's 2, as is always the case. They start advertising, talking about it right away. So you can book up tickets for Gallifrey 33 1/3. Tickets are on sale from April at www.gallifrey1.com. There, Sean Lyon. In all seriousness, they've been keeping that event going for 33 years. I think that they have missed a couple for whatever reason, but generally speaking, they've kept it on point. and to schedule. So I have to applaud them for that. And apparently attendance was down again this year, less than 1,500 people, in fact.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
So whether I mean, it could be the pandemic and people unsure about where they can go or feeling
Blame
safe.
it on the pandemic.
But yeah, I think the problems may have started before then. But best of luck with next year's event, everybody. And if you are booking
Around
up
2018, 2017.
and if you are booking up, let us know. Yeah, we'd love to hear some more. Now, I've got a couple of bits and bobs here to show you guys. Don't worry, it's all clean. I thought you'd see this. Cheer you up a little bit. Take a look at my itty bitties. Check this out. This is an itty.
Tom.
This is from Hallmark, an itty bitty Tom Baker and Dalek. The merchandise is sort of gradually dripping out again. We'll have another dedicated merchandise slot when JT gets back to the show, I suppose. But I thought this was just lovely. Apart from the fact that hair on Tom Baker's head there is suspiciously short and curly. Other than that, I think they're just so lovely. I was trying to work out exactly how big they were, Simon. What do you think?
I know. I'm guessing they're quite small, to be honest. Yeah. But that Tom is just adorable, isn't it? I love Tom Baker.
Yeah, stupid logo though.
Yeah, well, we know all the logo. But they've even got his season 12 costume there with the waistcoat. They've really got right back. Oh, I can see now as well. He's got a little sonic screwdriver, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, bless! That's just beautiful. That smile. I love that. I'm having that. I want one of those. Seriously, I want one of those. I love that.
It's a very squishy-looking Dalek, I think, Charlotte. You could relieve stress by squeezing that.
Yeah, but they look cute when they're like that. And Tom, I think Tom's one of those doctors that suits the sort of cutesy style. I think he really does.
Yeah.
Are they British or are these American? They are British release, are they?
These are British. They're available through Hallmark internationally. Yeah. So there's some little gift items are starting to creep out now. So we've got that, which I thought was absolutely beautiful. And we have probably the ugliest piece of merchandise I think I've ever seen. This does take my award for ugliest bit of merch in 2022 so far. If you have seen anything uglier, then please get in touch, Twitter and Instagram at Type40 Doctor Who, or let us know in the comment section. This, get your eyes around this. In fact, you may want to cover your eyes and open them quite slowly. This is from Pyramid International, everybody. It's called the Doctor Who Time Spiral, the 10-inch Time Spiral. It's available from eBay. Yes, steady on. It's to show your love for the famous Doctor with this epic Doctor Who war clock, the officially licensed clock, featuring the famous TARDIS. And it measures 24.5 centimeters in diameter and requires 2 times AA batteries there. And it looks like this.
That's not bad.
It does look a little bit
the logo.
fan-made. It does look a bit fan-made.
I know. I like it. It's weird because it makes your eye go to the right, and it's really clever, actually, as far as I'm concerned. I'd buy that. Yeah, I think it's very clever.
I honestly think last year's annual was far, far, far worse.
But it's really nice. I'd buy that.
You have surprised me because Paul Murray, he agrees with me watching on YouTube. You're right, Dan. That's awful. Yeah, of course. Oh dear.
I like it.
Carol Jude.
I mean, aside from absolutely, the logo is being picked up by lots of people in the quite.
Yeah, apart from the logo. Yeah.
If you took the logo and the BBC bit off, it would actually look far cooler. But it's this. We know it's Doctor Who. We kind of worked that out from the TARDIS. We didn't need it to be told. So I think if you took that off, it would.
It's Peter, isn't it? It's the Peter
Capaldi titles he had.
The wrong TARDIS there for Capaldi. Wrong TARDIS.
Exactly, and that's what's getting to me, Barnaby.
Yeah.
We have Capaldi's time vortex. We've got Matt Smith's TARDIS, Jodie Whittaker's logo.
Fair point.
So to me, it's just brand-wise, Matt. You're a designer, Matt. Brand-wise, it's all over the place.
It is. I'm just seeing one big mess. The first thing that drew my attention was that horrible logo.
But you know what, Matt? Can I buy it and send it to you when you can repaint the TARDIS? No, okay.
No.
I'll take it back.
No, it looks like it looks like something I'd get from Melbourne markets, if you can understand.
Melbourne markets.
It's like, not quite kosher.
Oh, I see. Could be unofficial merchandise.
I actually like it though. I like the
think
design.
Richard Brooks hits the nail on the head actually when Richard says no, it's too busy for a clock face. That is part of the problem. If anything, it's actually the numbers that spoil it. If you're going to do something like this, you kind of have to go for broke, and you've got to do the numbers in these numerals around the outside as part of the spiral. So to do the spiral and then actually stick those numbers with awful, cheap, nasty Photoshop glow behind them, that's what makes it look really cheap and nasty and knocked off. It does look knocked off, I have to say.
Well, do they actually light up?
No.
I know.
Oh,
no, you know what?
That's what I was told.
I like the idea behind it. I like that it represents Peter. Yes, get rid of the TARDIS, whatever, and the logo, and you'd have a really nice little kind of art piece because it is
just
kind of
an
art
thing,
piece.
Yeah. Sort of Dalek.
Get rid of the numbers. Definitely get rid of the logo. And the
Salvador Dalek.
I would buy that and correct it. And repaint the TARDIS and stuff. Yeah, repaint the TARDIS and get rid of the logo.
Would you have it if it? Question is, would you have it if it was for free? If they were just giving it away?
Of course, yeah. No. I'd stick it at the back there like that and correct it. And
nobody gives anything away anymore, do they, Barnaby? You can never get anybody to give anything away. There's always a price for everything, isn't there?
Yeah, but you couldn't give that away to me, I'm afraid.
Is there?
I like it. Give it to me.
Because this month on Amazon, for completely free, they are giving away Doctor Who Series 13 Flux.
Is that the complete one?
I have no idea, but yeah, it turns out they do give things away after all. Who'd have thought it? There we are. There is a Santa.
Why would you?
I can't imagine why they're giving it away.
I can't at all after watching it.
No, surely that wouldn't need to be given away.
It's my chance to blow my brains in by watching.
I'll tell you what. What came out this week in Australia was this beautiful thing. It came out a month early, and I was so ecstatic. So I can't wait to delve in.
Have you got a favourite story from season 17 there, Matt?
Oh, City of Death, definitely.
Oh, yes.
Good choice. Very, very good choice.
I find that we don't actually have the cheaper versions that they're releasing. So we have to buy these, otherwise we're stuck. So if we don't get them, they sell out pretty quick. So so we won't get any replacements. But these boxes are cheap as thing. Chips. I don't know if they're all like that with the British versions, but they're just cheap.
Yeah, it's totally different to both the American and British sets.
Oh, that's different to ours. I didn't realise. You get different, but it looks the same. But until you've now taken it apart, it looks the same as ours. No, that's cheap and nasty. No, ours is quite pretty and sexy in comparison.
The cardboard thing.
I think first they started doing that after the first John Pertwee one. They started bringing out the cheaper versions, and I was like, "This is really flimsy." And then because they sold out on the first the first Doctor Who Tom Baker one very, very quickly, his first season. So I ended up having to get the American version, and that was even worse. So I ended up buying off in the UK the next version that they brought out of is it season 12? I was like, I have to get and that was heaps better, But I can't wait to delve into that one. Not Flux, no.
Just to be clear.
It's free, Matt. It's free.
No, I don't care if it's free or if it's fed intravenously. I do.
People are reeling from the fact that they are giving it away on Amazon, or at least they were. Blue Planet says Amazon delete negative reviews of Whittaker's Doctor Who. I know this from experience. Do that. I know that Rotten Tomatoes, not just of Doctor Who, but they do delete comments now or they go in and mass delete comments if they feel that they're going too far into the specifically negative. They never delete comments for being too positive. It's funny, that, isn't it?
Yeah, very funny. Yep, we said that together. Me and Barnaby.
Jinx.
Jinx. What are you, 12-year-old?
Paul Murray here has done us all a turn, and he's watched Chris Chibnall's 15-minute video explaining
That's a
and
15-minute video.
found it still didn't make any sense. Well, I admire you. I admire your tenacity there.
I love Barnaby's reaction.
He won't live that down.
That's what you need in a plot. You need the showrunner to come on and explain it. Afterwards, the show doesn't do it itself. Oh, that's lovely. I love that. You'll find that.
Could you imagine if RTD had actually gone on to about Rose, and explained how Rose worked? It's like, yeah, this is a really good show if you keep watching. It's like.
It'll make sense. I promise. It'll make sense. Yes, if you have.
It's like when Colin did that. He went when he went to the end of what was it, the Twin Dilemma, saying, I'm not going to be quite as terrible as you think I am. It's kind of that back to those sort of days. I'm like, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So if you'd like to know where you can pick up that surprisingly popular ugly clock there, then we'll be dropping that into the Type 40
Drop it in.
group.
I get it.
All the details and the itty bitty doctor. There'll be more merchandise, no doubt, to come over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for all of that. One thing you probably won't be getting was announced this week. In fact, it was announced at the Comic-Con, and I had to talk about this. I couldn't quite believe what I was reading. Now, I don't know how many of you are comic book fans here? Yeah. Oh, the majority.
Me and Simon, at least I'm not the only one.
So that's 2/3 of us are comic book fans. So you may be aware then, that we have a World Book Day. That was last week. I think it was World Book Day for kids, where kids can pick up books for 99p or whatever else. Well, when that took off, then a free comic book day also became a thing within the first couple of years after that. And Doctor Who has had a presence in free comic book day for quite a while.
You got rainbows on.
Oh, worse.
It's worse.
Look, I have to give them credit where it's due. There's been a free comic book day Doctor Who title put out now for about 7 or 8 years. And it's literally, these comics are literally free, aren't they, Matt? And this is everything. DC, Marvel, IDW, who else? Dark Horse, everybody, all of the major imprints, they get into it, don't they, too? So it's not a gimmick.
Looking as well. Do they do a reprint of Looking? No,
they don't. They have brought back, I think, Rebellion, who own the rights to such as Buster and School Fun, and Whizzle Chips, and all those old British comics. They sometimes, and Oink, they sometimes put out a special edition of something for free comic book day. Now and again, they certainly do something 2000 AD related. But yeah, it is officially a thing. Brace yourself, Ian. The chat.
No, I know what it is.
He knows.
Simon doesn't.
I don't know what this is.
It's got something to do with Asda.
Well, we had. Okay, so they revealed the cover for the free comic book day Doctor Who issue for 22.
I told you it had something to do with Asda.
It does feature Joe Martin's Fugitive Doctor. Now, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, yes, Matt, you haven't seen any of the episodes. You're one of the clever people who decided they were going to stay clear.
This is the thing that broke me, though, I tell you.
But Matt, this is the woman that
come out of my shell.
This is the woman that lives next door to me, and she goes to Asda's every Saturday. So yeah, I don't know what she's doing on the cover of Doctor Who, though. So there you go.
Yeah.
Now,
I could go into a rant, but I'm not going to.
Before I get any deeper into this, I'm going to offer a little disclaimer for the hard of thinking out there. This is not anything against Jo Martin, who seems a perfectly lovely lady and a more than capable actress. I don't know her, I've never met her, and I wish her all the well. She seems like a lovely woman. We're talking about the Fugitive Doctor for all the people out there who are so inclined. So let's move on. Yeah, so I saw this was coming out, the free comic book day edition, and I thought, okay, it is completely for free. It's up to me whether I pick it up or not. But I've been following the fortunes of Titan Comics' entire Doctor Who imprint over the last 6 or 7 years. I collected all of the books when they were with the previous publisher, IDW, during the Tennant era and the Matt Smith era. They published a successive run of 2 great ongoing titles. I didn't like every issue or every arc, but they really, really tried, and they got some really good creative people both writing and producing the art on those books. So I moved over into Titan, as did a lot of people, and I've gradually fallen away. I can't imagine why. But yeah, they've announced after a few months of not putting anything out that free comic book day edition will be followed by a brand new miniseries. which had a lot of people's ears pricking up because we've been given the title Doctor Who Origins. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I can't think it's Doctor Who has never needed an origin story, has it, Simon? And told anywhere. 59 years this franchise has existed, and we've never needed an origin before. Why on earth would we want or need one now? Surely.
The last thing we want is an origin series. Let's be honest. That is the last thing we want is an origin series. You just don't. But that alone just sort of smacks of desperation, doesn't it? It's because that's what everybody does now. You get X-Men origin, you get Spider-Man origin. You just get origin stories now. You've got to know the origin of everything. You can't just start cold. You've now got to know everything that happens for the umpteen number of years that led up to it. Oh, I'm just not interested. Is it going to be good stories? No, it's not going to be good stories. That's the one.
The problem is that even though there are some talented writers that work in comics, Barnaby, The Walking Dead obviously has gone on to become a TV show that has it maybe have peaked a few years ago, but written by the writer is I can't remember his name. Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman wrote that. He's written several comic books and novels, I believe, as well. Things like Invincible. This is a proper writer and a succession of good artists. So comics is a great breeding ground for good talent, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of my favorite stories. I'm a big IDW Transformers fan, and the Chris Roberts, his writing is actually fantastic in that. But in comparison to you've got the comic book medium, and then in comparison to television, when they're sort of compared together, the comics are kind of like a bit lower down. So the fact they're sort of doing this big sort of origins thing in comic form, for me, kind of makes it seem like it's not given as much credence as it would have done, because they're almost like they were going to make it a huge thing for the TV show. But the fact they're doing it in comic book form gives me the impression they don't really seem to care that much. Or am I wrong?
I just want to push the idea of this Jodie era.
Yeah.
But that's
not,
what they want
not
to
in
do.
the TV show,
Well,
But
people watching along on YouTube have certainly come to the same conclusions that you guys are. No origin story for the Doctor. No, thank you, says Richard Brooks.
We don't
Carol Jude.
It's called Doctor Who for a reason, right?
Yeah,
But not only that, not only about being an origin, but it's also with this Joe Doctor.
Well, we're going to come to
whoever
that
she
in a
is,
moment,
this Fugitive Doctor.
Carol Jude says that origins
care.
and endings shouldn't be allowed. It cheats. Yeah. So endings too. We found that out recently with another huge movie icon. Origins and endings shouldn't be allowed. It cheats people out of being able to make up their own stories and to continue the legends too, to sort of bookend it like that. I really do. I think that's why Doctor Who has endured, Simon, and the mystique.
I really do think that's a major part. I mean, literally, this has been in this series literally since minute one of the very first episode. Thank you, Dan. Exactly. That's it. That's what part of the appeal is. That's certainly one of the things that appeals.
Mystery.
To be fair, even if this was Hartnell, we wouldn't want to see it.
Yeah.
If this was Hartnell,
I just don't want to see this at all. That is part of the attraction of it. It's not necessary to know. And as I say, part of my love of Doctor Who absolutely is that sort of just slight quirky unknownness that we've never quite managed to time down. And that's what makes it such an interesting character. In the way that
in the title.
Yeah,
exactly. And for all that, I was just asking Barnaby about comics, is this breeding ground for great talent? So it's not that I've got anything against they're comic book writers, they're not good enough. I don't think anybody should be doing that. I think when they had Neil Gaiman on the show and he put his spin on the TARDIS in The Doctor's Wife, an episode which I generally objectively really like, I do with hindsight think that it probably damaged the show and damaged the mythology. You see what I mean, Simon?
He does a lot of that.
Yeah. I totally agree.
I liked it. I liked that episode, but I understand what you're saying.
That's my point. You see,
you are right, Dan. They gave too much away. You just shouldn't give stuff away, because let's not forget, once it's out there, you can never take it back. You can never repossess. And so Andrew Cartmel learned that to his cost, that he tried to imbue some of the mystery back in the Doctor, and it's tough to do. The more you give away, the less mystery you have, the less interest there is, and then the less options you've got. Because say you can't take it back again once it's out there. Don't do it, guys. Just don't go near it. Just leave it alone. It's fine.
Here's hoping the new version won't do it.
Well, I wondered why they were going there now. The book is called Doctor Who Origins. It's a 4-issue miniseries, and the first issue, well, the Free Comic Book Day is out on May the 7th. So that's his International Free Comic Book Day. But Doctor Who Origins #1 comes out on May the 18th. So it's just over a week later. It's written by Jodie Houser with art by Roberta Ingranata. So they've been both on the Doctor Who title for a while. And the blurb goes like this. It says, a brand new, never before seen adventure featuring the Fugitive Doctor.
Sorry.
Well, it's the same with Big Finish. Big Finish just put out a feeler, didn't it, for wanting to know whether or not people wanted to see
Ian's popcorn got lodged. So here's the blurb anyway. It says, working for the mysterious division on a dangerous assignment, the Doctor uncovers something insidious afoot. Discover why this regeneration became known as the Fugitive.
Who cares?
It's on sale on May the 18th.
The Doctor. That is not the Doctor. No. We just, this is just
what really grinds my gears is that this is, if somebody's going to insist, if a creative, never mind Jodie Houser, who is an okay comics writer, and Roberta Ingranata, who's an okay comics artist. Neither of them are anything special. So the idea that it's been, after 59 years, that a gift like this of explaining something so key to a major modern mythology would be gifted to these two really middling creatives. That's okay, whatever. There's that. But why even do this? Why even do this at all? And why has it fallen to a comic book to tell this particular
No one's
story?
interested.
Because
That's
Chibnall's
why.
lazy.
And no one's interested either.
This is how I see this. This is them trying to make up for the fact that Chibnall introduced a new incarnation. He did it slapdash. He didn't give it the groundwork. He didn't fully integrate this Doctor into his era. She's just there for a shock. She's just there. So then everybody on Twitter or all the socials can go, oh, look, we've got a cameo from Joe Martin. That is all what this Doctor is on telly. So here's the problem. Because you can't introduce a new incarnation and not flesh them out, so it's now fallen to the comics to do that. This is what Chibnall, if he was going to do this, I don't agree with the Fugitive Doctor as a premise, but if you're going to do this, this should have been in the show. This should not be in a comic, is my issue.
Should not have existed.
That's my problem. That's my problem with it, Ian. The idea that they've effectively torn away that ground, that fundamental mythology with that mystique that Simon so beautifully spoke about there, and that imagery, they've torn that away. And it's one thing to arrogantly think, okay, we'll tear that from underneath it all, and we'll build something ourselves from the ground up. That takes a certain amount of arrogance and audacity. And I can understand even why some people may admire a creative or set of creatives who would do that. It's very foolhardy. And you have to be very sure of what you're doing to pull it off. I can see why some would admire that. But that's not what has happened here.
Nope.
They have seemingly got bored with this character. I mean, the last time that Joe Martin was on screen playing this character, Simon, I thought the poor woman looked bored to tears in flux.
Just like the audience.
Yeah, she's being wheeled out.
Look, this character does not deserve to exist in Doctor Who lore, and nor does the Jodie Doctor either. This era does not exist for me.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm very clear. I hate the 13th Doctor. I mean, no doubt at all. But whether we like it or not, the 13th Doctor is canon. Okay,
not if it's retconned. Not if it's retconned.
But the Joe Martin Doctor, I'm sorry, that is just not the Doctor. It just really irritates me.
My next door neighbour.
talked about this before, but these I've joked before about having Kermit the Frog. That you might as well have Kermit the Frog as the Doctor. Anybody can now be the Doctor. It's completely demystified the character, and it's devalues the character. This endless here's this Doctor. Oh, here's this Doctor. We no longer know or care who a Doctor is. It undermines the character in the eyes of the public as well as in the eyes of the fans, because it's cheapened the character. This has cheapened it, and
can we not move on?
People are asking. Sorry, in the chat now. Is this that Doctor's origins, or is it her life as a human, as we saw in that story? Because and no, it is supposed to be the Doctor's origins.
He's wearing the costume.
Gallifrey, the Weeping Angels, all that kind of thing. Yeah, it's the Doctor rather than Ruth Clayton, the character that we met her as. That's what they're saying. And I keep thinking, how did it get this bad? Because as I said, the IDW comics, they were riding somewhat of a creative wave when they had it. Titan picked it up in 2014. At a time where Doctor Who comics were healthier than ever, and they published a slew of titles. There were ongoing series for at least 2 Doctors, and there were multiple mini-series too, and some of them were by major comic book industry names. And they came one after the other, and it really did seem to be going somewhere. Beautiful art by people like Christopher Jones there on a couple of those. So it all seemed to be in a really, really good place from 2014 through to around 2017 and even into 2018 up until, say, the summer into the autumn. Titan have had this license since all that time. And then gradually the line started to shrink, and they collapsed all of those titles. Now, it's not the first time they've done this in books, and they even did it with the release of the home media. So they collapsed all of the titles to try and focus on the Jodie Whittaker era as that was starting up. But just 2 years now into the Jodie Whittaker era, they can't keep a single comic book starring that character. Never mind these multiple ongoings that were going before, Simon. They can't manage to keep a single book going for longer than 3 or 4 months without needing to restart it. So they've restarted it 3 times. And the last time, they were so desperate to do it that they incorporated the 10th Doctor as practically a permanent recurring character in it.
Yeah, that's the thing, you see. It's look. This whole thing is a lie, right? Everybody's lying about how popular Jodie is. We all know that she's not popular. We all know that a lot of people hate her. In fact, when I was on a film a couple of weeks ago, the crew who I was working with, all young people, most of them were Doctor Who fans, and most of them were saying that they hated Jodie. Do you know what I mean? We're not stuck in a bubble. I've realised that now. The majority of people do not like this era at all. Yet BBC and the media seem to want to, keep this lie going for some reason. It's a lie. The whole thing's a lie.
You can't help wondering. I wonder this. Maybe is it just a coincidence that this kind of fugitive Doctor, has come along at the least popular era of the show? So maybe it is that they are so painfully aware that Jodie has not been popular.
Yeah,
that
they are.
Think, okay, just try and create another Doctor and see if that gets the attention, because we can't get rid of Jodie quite yet. So
I honestly think
a parallel Doctor. Maybe that's the thinking. It seems a remarkable coincidence to me.
I think that's exactly what it is, because what's happened with all 3 of these runs of Whittaker comics the 13th Doctor comics, I should say, for Titan were all closed down, I think less than 10 issues in. I think the first series did run to about 8 issues. Second series of it lasted about 5. And the last one, they even billed it as a mini-series just so they got to get out in case it was a complete and utter disaster. Unsurprisingly, it was. And then, as if by magic, sometime last year, so this is in the run-up to Flux, bear in mind, then 13th Doctor comics disappeared altogether to be replaced by comics starring Weeping Angels and the Master. And now they're running a mini-series which features the 8th Doctor and the 13th Doctor. And Whittaker is nowhere to be seen. This was a book that was running whilst there was a new series actually on the TV.
Wow.
I mean, it's as I said, right? I don't understand the media. I don't understand the Doctor Who, BBC. They know it's a lie. They know they failed, right?
But Ian,
would it hurt if they just came out and say it failed?
Ian, the difference is
probably would.
They've got money coming in by the license fee. The comics have to make a profit.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
If you look at the things that are dropping Whittaker's Doctor, it's all the things that need to make money. So they're having to finally admit. They won't say it out loud.
They won't admit it.
No, they won't admit it.
Which you need to look at. And it's the actions which are all saying this Doctor, even though we've still got a year of her technically being the Doctor this year, they don't want to touch her. And
nobody wants to touch her.
No,
I'm not even I want to touch her. Barnaby doesn't want to touch her. Matt doesn't want to touch her.
No, but I just quickly thought of this as well. This Fugitive Run, they're also just doing this now when we could get a new Doctor announced this year. So even this Fugitive Run probably won't last for long. They're just waiting almost.
Nobody wants
Russell
it.
T. Davies Doctor to come along.
Why not do more of the War Doctor or something?
Exactly.
At least that was an original
good question.
Idea.
Yeah.
And perfect for comics as well. Richard Brooks asks on YouTube, he says, I hope Jo Martin gets some more work after her work on the show. Well, I think she's still a regular on Holby City. If you're asking where you might have seen her before. All the best to her. And let's help she get some work that really does some well for a career. Blue Planet says she's mediocre. Vanessa Law says, sorry,
the thing is, you can't criticize. You can't criticize her because she was hardly in Doctor Who. She was 15 minutes.
Hardly in it.
Yeah, and then she was like 2 minutes in. So I've been told in the last one. How can you criticize someone that's only been maybe 20 minutes in a show, and yet they've actually made her one of the
James
Doctors.
Fitzpatrick has got a question here for you, Ian. Wants you to write a comic. Please write an indie comic entitled "The Next Door Neighbor Doctor." Please.
Okay, I will do that.
That's a request. There's lots of requests coming through. That's after that. Yeah,
that was the thing. It was like she was shoehorned into this mythology because of her skin color and because of her gender. That's all. There was no other reason for it. And I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. As soon as she appeared, that was it. Because I was more than happy to let this era go and just move on to the next one. Hopefully, it was going to be a man.
So
as soon as they brought her in, I was like, no, you're stuffing up with you're playing with the mythology, and you're also getting rid of rewriting history.
I was on a shoot once, and I said we had a break, and I said to one of the girls there, I said, she was mentioning Doctor, and I said, are you a fan of Doctor? And she goes, yeah, but I don't like the Jodie era. And but no, I stopped watching it from Peter. I don't like the Jodie. I've never watched Jodie era. And I said, you know about the Fugitive Doctor, don't you? And she went, no. So I got my phone and I put the picture up, and it said, here's the Doctor. And she just went, you're fucking kidding me. That's her exact words. Her exact words. So there you go. There you go.
Andy C says Jodie, the Timeless Child, and the Fugitive Doctor should all be in an alternative universe version.
Yes.
That way it can be easily retconned.
The retcon.
Yeah. And fair play to Jo Martin. She was there at Gallifrey One over the weekend, there meeting and signing. Big smile on the face. Yeah, big smile on the face, picking up a few quid. And I'm sure that she will continue to sign the odd bit and piece as time goes on. And like I say, I hope she goes on to do other things.
Do we know the cost of that? Do we know how much she was charging?
No idea.
Exorbitant price?
Who can blame her? I don't blame. She's an actress. She's been cast. Of course, you're going to take the work. I don't blame her in the slightest. As you say, Dan, I'm sure she's a lovely person. I've got absolutely nothing against Jo Martin in the slightest. It's the character. I can't blame her.
She's the George Lazenby. She's the George Lazenby.
George Lazenby had style, I believe. I met him a couple of years ago. He had style.
So, I mean, it's one thing with the 60th anniversary coming up. I mean, if they were to insist on publishing some sort of origin story for Doctor Who in expanded media form, because Big Finish have sort of teased things around the outskirts. We've even seen that on TV Doctor Who with little kisses back to life on Gallifrey just before the series started, which I think is absolutely fine because it doesn't break that bubble. For me, certainly not. Just to have an idea put in my head, but to actually tell a story. Maybe they could have done something next year, but why now? And you look at the art. I mean, this is the artwork.
Wow!
For God's sakes.
I don't think that's very good, Roberta. I'm sorry. I know Roberta Ingranata can actually do better than this.
I think Matt can draw better than that.
Terrible.
Absolutely
just to say for Jo, that is not very flattering.
No, it's not.
Really not very flattering.
She looks about 15.
when these were coming out about 10 years ago, a lot of the people that actually worked on these loved Doctor Who, so they had a dream job, even right down to the colorists. I knew one of the colorists that worked on this, and he ended up going back and working on some of the previous Tom Baker ones and that they did in the early, I think, late 80s and that. And that was like a dream job. He couldn't believe that he got to recolor them, you know?
He did a lovely job on that book.
You can see people just don't love it. It's a job, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so I just, it's one thing to know that this title exists. You know, you look at the time and you think, oh, God. You think, well, okay, well, maybe it will be aesthetically pleasing, but by the evidence of this, no, it won't be. So it's not going to look nice. It's not going to do anything. It's not really going to do anything apart from keep Titans Comics license going for that extra year until I've got a feeling, Simon, that like a lot of people who bought licenses to make Doctor Who merchandise, say 5 or 6 years ago, they're just waiting for it to expire and then they can move on to something else and somebody else can pick it up if they want to. But who would want to pick up a license to make Doctor Who comics right now?
No.
You've got to remember too, it's not actual canon either. Because, you know, you had Matt Smith's era, he ran into Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah, he did,
See,
it's not canon. It's not.
Well, it's a whole argument about Doctor Who canon anyway. It's always, I hate to use this word, but in flux, as it were.
Very good.
People aren't impressed with this art and asking who the hell it is and what it is. And I think that'll be the general reception. And I do think this book will sink without a trace, even for comic book readers. I mean, my general point with this, when I saw this appear, I should be at least curious about what this is going to be, but I'm not. And I believe that Titan probably have a few months, maybe a year at the most, to run on their license to make Doctor Who comics. Like I said, they've had them since 2014. And I kind of understand, Charlotte, you know, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, why some Titan have got this license to make Doctor Who comics. But it's a series that has flatlined with the British public and disenfranchised masses of us, of the dedicated fan base. So I understand why they would have requested, because all of these stories, all of these plot lines will have been submitted, just like Big Finish have to do. They will have been submitted to the BBC, to the production office, to Chris Chibnall. Can we publish this? Can we do this? So I can see why Titan would have asked to do this, because Whittaker's Doctor is clearly not popular enough to keep an ongoing series or even a mini series now in comic book stores. And the sad thing, Ian, is that for all that you're right about this character, this character does not work. The actress herself looks bored, so how can we not be? This character does not work, and yet it is still the only character in this entire era that has created any kind of impact, negative or positive. So I suppose for Titan, with a license that they need to make some money off, it's kind of understandable that they fixate on, okay, we can't sell a book starring her or them or that. There's that character. Let's put them at the center of it, put it out for 4 issues and hope for the best. It wouldn't surprise me if this runs until the end of next year and Titan's license is up in November. That's how I feel.
But they're probably told to do a comic on this.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was
I think they were
BBC.
told. Yeah, I think they were told to do this because Titan is a company that wants to make money. They know they're not going to make money if they have Fugitive Doctor or even the 13th Doctor, right? They know that. So they probably were told, licensed by BBC, and BBC probably gave them money to do it. And they go, okay, you're going to give us money to do it, we'll do it. And then that's that, really.
Yeah, because I can remember through Flux, the only thing that I kept seeing people want if the Fugitive Doctor was in it was people just saying, can we have some clarity about where on earth she fits? Because Chibnall hadn't said, and on telly, we still don't officially know where she fits. So for me, it just screams of somebody at the BBC going, oh God, Chibnall forgot that thing as well. And then just saying, right, can you write it? Because Chibnall can't.
This whole thing's a lie. The whole of this error is a complete and utter lie, you know, and that's what's really insulting to us.
Gary Akers points out that this is $3.99 an issue, Ian, and that is a weeping angel that's coming out of the glass. I mean, the thing is, I can understand why, in their situation, Titan would have submitted this to the BBC and asked to do this. But what
don't you think they were told, though, Dan?
What bewilders me is why the BBC have let them do this specifically to tell an origin story in the 59th anniversary year and just in comic book form. It seems like the most disposable piece of trash going. And I'm
but do you think the BBC?
I've gutted the BBC have allowed it, and I think it's yet another stain on the legacy of this show.
I agree with you there.
All down to Chris Chibnall and Matt Stevens.
But do you think the BBC actually commissioned them to do it? That's the question.
No. I think Titan came up with this because they have a license that is going to expire soon. Creative sat around doing nothing. I know Jodie Hauser works for them a lot, and I think they may have even asked them, what would you like to do? Well, none of these characters are remotely interesting, and people don't buy books starring any of them. Who would you like to tell a story with? I'll tell a story with her. That might be interesting for me.
But why would they think she would sell, though? Why would they think she would sell? It's a bad decision.
Do we even know where she fits?
No,
we won't know that. We won't know that.
We have not been told yet.
We don't care.
I know we
don't give a shit.
And the irony of it is that we had debates about this because I can't even remember now, but it was something to do with the fact that she got a police box TARDIS that she couldn't have. It didn't work. So the timeline that was kind of thinly created didn't actually work, and they never explained it. But nobody cares. Let's be honest. I certainly don't.
Just to recap for anybody who is interested, that's the Free Comic Book Day issue that's out on May the 7th with that mini-series Doctor Who Origins to follow from the 18th of May from Titan Comics. I don't have very high hopes for this. We shall see, but if you do intend on picking it up, let us know at Type40 Doctor Who at gmail.com or Instagram and Twitter at Type40 Doctor Who. What do you think? Is this going to be remembered at all? Will you wait for the trade paperback? Or will you just ignore it and forget it ever existed? Like I think he's probably going to. It's just going to happen.
But it's going like this. No, we don't want it. I
can't see how anybody is going to take to that at all. We did have some other news concerning the Easter special.
Good news.
It does look. It is good news in the way that there's only 2 more episodes of this era of Doctor Who left to go. So that is almost certain. The next special is almost certain to be going out on Easter Sunday, and that's Legend of the Sea Devils that stars Jodie Whittaker.
No, I'm not
and it will be reviewed on a future edition of the Type 40 podcast. From one sad subject, I'm afraid, to another. And
no, you're killing me.
The mood has just gone down so much.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this one's going to be a bit more comedy. As well, though, a bit more comedy.
No, I'm afraid not. No, this.
Well done, Charlotte.
I think we have to acknowledge the passing of Stuart.
I thought it was something else. I didn't know.
Very
Stuart Bevan Simon died at the age of 73. The star, the guest actor from the Green Death. Back in 1973 as Professor Clifford Jones across all 6 episodes, wasn't he? A great loss to the Doctor Who community. It's a great loss to the Doctor Who community, isn't it?
Absolutely, and of course he was the boyfriend of Katie Manning at the time that they made the Green Death, and it's Katie Manning that pretty much put forward her boyfriend for the part that she would have
married. How it was.
Long hair.
Yeah, the long hair, bless him. And what, of course, is sad about this is that Stuart Bevan has always taken, well, certainly in recent years, has really taken an active role in sort of the Doctor Who world. He's appeared in lots of the behind the sofa features on the Blu-rays. He's appeared in many of the special features in the documentaries, so on and so forth. And so he clearly wears his Doctor Who credentials with great pride. And this is just yet another sad loss to the Doctor Who family, and one that none of us saw coming again. It's funny, isn't it? We just sort of go along. Doctor Who, in many ways, I think, is a bit of a double-edged sword because it's all about time travel. We almost sort of think of these people as timeless, and they're going to be around. Yeah. And then when we lose another one, it's just just bites again. You realise, no, these people are mortal, just like the rest of us. And so he's a great loss because he's a great contribution, I think, to the Green Death, and he has been a great contribution to Doctor Who in recent years as well, to the Blu-ray range, if nothing else. So yeah, really sad to hear this week.
Yeah,
so was I. I was when I saw it break. I saw it on Twitter first, and you think, oh God, and then you realise, okay, these people, people. Stuart, he wasn't a young man, but he wasn't really old.
No.
But to make such a big impact, Barnaby, across those 6 episodes, 48, 49 years ago, it really says something for the character that Stuart managed to create, doesn't it?
Yeah, everyone remembers him from the Green Death, and particularly that last scene when Joe leaves, and he is connected with that, and that's just it's one of my favourite companions. Companion leaving scenes, and it's just so sad. And also John himself was very sad that she was leaving, and he's connected with that beautiful ending of the Green Death. So yeah, it really hit home. Seeing him go.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's great. He's a good looking chap, wasn't he, when he was young?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I wonder why she ran off with him and left the Doctor all on his own.
Rod Stewart, look at that.
Doctor.
Yeah, and of course they stayed. Katie and Stuart had stayed best friends, even though they'd split up not long after the Green Death, boyfriend and girlfriend. They stayed together in as friends through all these decades. They didn't make it work as a partnership, but they've never ever split up as best buddies. And so Katie must be particularly hard hit by this. I think Katie herself has sort of said, really, the only reason they didn't make it as a partnership is because she herself is just too much of a free spirit to ever be tied down to one person in that kind of respect.
She lived in Australia for a couple of decades, didn't she? And now she's back. And we've got a quote here, a tweet here, Simon, from Katie Manning, who says, Stuart Bevan, the most beautiful man, poet, actor, screenwriter, husband and father to Coral and Wendy, went on his awfully big adventure.
Yeah,
he was the love in my life for many years, on and off screen, and our wonderful friendship continued to the end.
Yeah, it's just a shame. I mean, it just goes to show how powerful Doctor Who, the actual show, really is. After so many years, you can have someone that appeared in it, for like 15 minutes. And he's going to always be associated with Doctor Who. Do you know what I mean? That's how powerful the show is. And it's such a shame with what they did with it. But anyway, we won't go into that. But this guy, I'll always remember him as the person that stole the girl that I fancied in Doctor Who. Always.
He was quite a heroic figure in the story, I think, as well, Matt. He was obviously very clever. He was a professor himself. But he moved a lot quicker than the Doctor, and he was trendy, wasn't he? So he was, I wouldn't say a style icon, but he was a man of his time, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it was good. I remember when she was in the Sarah Jane Adventures, and she mentioned him.
She did,
and she mentioned the fact that they were all still together,
But even in a show like that was such a beautiful scene, wasn't it? When she goes, "You left me, Doctor, you didn't," and then the Doctor explains that he was always watching her from afar, going down this or whatever. What a beautiful piece of writing that scene was. I mean,
and that they were living in the Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a
nice
wonderful piece of writing. Yeah. Anyway.
And people in the chat are just as touched and sad at the loss of Stuart as we are. I mean, we can only suggest, obviously, watch The Green Death again, or maybe they're Keeping Up with the Joneses short that they filmed. For which box set was that on, Simon? I can't.
That's on the season 13, isn't it? No, 10. Sorry, season 10 box set. Yeah, and it's fantastic. It's a superb little documentary, and they both get back together, and they're just as adorable.
Character.
Oh, they're just as adorable.
Do you know what? I find it interesting that they make these little shorts for the DVDs or the Blu-rays and stuff like that. Yet they don't do a little short featuring the actual characters themselves. That would probably be better than a documentary, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they are becoming, with every successive box set, I think they are becoming that. If you watch the one with Bonnie Langford playing Mel, and then the latest one with Nicola Bryant back as Perry, put the advert for the box set sort of in the middle, and it's almost like a 2-part minisode in 3-minute chunks. So it's straight. You can see that Pete McTighe, who makes those, you can tell not only does he really, really want to make Doctor Who, but that he could make, if on his under his own steam could make a good Doctor Who, Matt.
I do like the ones where they're in character. There's one of them with who's your favourite, Leela?
Louis,
where she's actually just the actress, you know.
Yeah.
And that one sort of didn't quite click with me, whereas these ones felt like they were in universe, and they just, you know.
Well, again, I mean, if you've seen the one for season, what is it, season 8, isn't it? Where again Stuart Bevan comes back for that one, for the Terror of the Autons one with the Daffodil Men. Stuart Bevan comes back for that as well.
But, you know, there's a really good one with Ace. And I wish it was a whole episode or even 15 minutes. You know, the bit where the doctor knocks on the window and you see the question mark thing. I was like, this is an episode. This is going to be great. And then it just stopped. I was like, damn it. You know what I mean?
It's just when it's about to kick off.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just a shame. They could have done that. That would have been great.
As sad as this undoubtedly is, you know, Stuart Bevan was a man who just as Katie said there, was an all-round creative. He seemed to live life to a full, had clearly a loving family around him and a best friend for life there in Katie. I think every time I've seen him speak about his time in Doctor Who and in the Doctor Who universe, he seemed very aware of how we felt about him, very appreciative. And I'm sure that if you were to go and watch The Green Death or or maybe his interview with Mythmakers or whatever, I'm sure he'd appreciate that. Rest in peace, Stuart Bevan. We will be.
I just felt for Katie Manning. I did, because I knew that she, you know, she's such a lovely lady. Like she'll talk to any fan, you know, and I just felt for her, you know, because I knew that she knew him for so long. And,
so it's another sad loss, and obviously I feel like we should mention them, but I do try and make sure we don't get too maudlin about it, because it should be a celebration of the man's life and work and the way that he made us feel during the Green Death, and that's what we talk about with all of you guys on the podcast and here on the live stream. So keep the comments coming, your memories of Stuart and of the Green Death and everything else we've been talking about on the live stream. Please share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the cloister bell so you get the notifications about what we're doing next and when we're doing it. Just like Kev, Who Fan Man, did. He came aboard our community a couple of months ago and he loves it. Don't you, Kev? Don't you, Kev? I know he's out there somewhere. He may not be watching at the moment, but he'll be watching the next couple of days. In fact, he loved it so much, he made us this fan art, which we put up on screen a couple of weeks ago there.
Great.
Plenty of the regulars. We've got Wendy, myself, Story, JT.
Have you not noticed that my circle's bigger? My circle's bigger than everyone's.
Not gone to his head at all, has he, Gary? So thanks again to Kev for that. Kev's also produced a fan title sequence for this entire show as well, with lots of swirling vortexes and whatever else. That's up on our social medias at the moment. Go and find us at Twitter, type 40 Doctor Who podcast, and you can see that there, or in our Facebook group, the Type 40 Facebook group over on Facebook. Just pop us in and search there. Speaking of which, another community notice, we've got a second Facebook group that launched at the weekend just gone. Now, this is the Type 40 Doctor Who DVD and Blu-ray collectors group. The idea is this second group goes a little deeper. So this is exclusively for people who, collect Doctor Who on physical media, particularly on shiny disc. And there is no observation and no soapbox or nitpick that is too far for posts in this group. So we're talking about sleeve art. We've got pictures of shelf porn. So how do you store yours in release order or in chronological order or whatever? All that's in there. People comparing notes on bit rates and color grading, as well as their favorite sleeves and formats, and griping over things that none of us can change, Simon, but we do it anyway.
Oh, that's what Doctor Who fans do best.
Of course it is. So you head over to Facebook and search for Type 40, and you'll find both Type 40 Doctor Who fan group and the Type 40 Doctor Who DVD and Blu-ray collectors group too, for those deep dives. For all of you who haven't yet transferred solely to streaming and cling to your physical media just like I do. Speaking about hanging on and clinging on, if you have been holding your bladder for the last hour or so. Now is the time. Now is the time. Yes, it's time for the designated Type 40 ad break. As always, we've got some fantastic Doctor Who ads coming up in. You won't see them. You'll be in the little boys' room. But
I'm going to the little boys' room.
Everybody else will. So yeah, we're going to leave you with some adverts for a couple of minutes. Let us know what you think when we come back. So here we are, some more Doctor Who ads, and we'll all see you back here in a couple of minutes.
Packed with carbohydrates and 7 of the essential vitamins, every bowl of Kellogg's cornflakes is a bowl full of sunshine. So whatever you get up to Kellogg's cornflakes.
I like this spot, the day's just right. 2 hours gone and still no bite. The fish won't take today, and so let's light the pipe that burns so slow.
St. Bruno?
Right, St. Bruno. Their luck has changed, and look, I'll bet, well, there's a 12-pound salmon right in the net. The pipe of St. Bruno's burning still. There's so much pleasure from just one fill.
St. Bruno?
Right, St. Bruno.
From another dimension comes the ultimate trading card and magazine collection. Doctor Who. Battles in Time. With every magazine, you get a pack of stunning trading cards. Fight your battles alongside the Doctor. Boost your powers with special bonus cards and rare shinies. There's an out-of-this-world TARDIS collector's case to store them. In the magazine, you'll find new card games to play, brand new adventures, brain-busting puzzles, and how to destroy a Dalek. Get a Dalek poster free with Part 1 and boost your card collection at your newsagent. Doctor Who. Battles in Time. The ultimate trading card and magazine collection.
Hello, Jim.
Oh.
Captain Birdseye wants his dinner.
Pop it.
We having fish fingers?
Naturally. New battered fish fingers.
Battered fish fingers?
Just for a change, fish fingers in a smashing crunchy batter. Here, get off. Those are for the captain.
Captain Birdseye! Captain Birdseye!
Try new Birdseye battered fish fingers. For a change.
Captain Birdseye!
Very creepy face at the end.
I love Bernard Breslaw.
Then
carry on forever.
In luck then as the show moves on. Yeah, I think everybody loves Bernard Breslaw. Matt, crimpling doubloons. It's Bernard Breslaw. Wow. And Kelly says, where's the custard?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good, Kelly.
Melina Vader says, fish fingers with the custard?
Yeah.
Did anybody spot who the voice was there in the St. Bruno advert? Why that was?
No.
Michael.
Was it Michael Jaston?
It was Fraser Hines.
No.
That's an ad from 1964. It was Fraser Hines playing one of the voices of the two guys in the boat.
No way.
I only asked, says a crimpling doubloon. Ada McGeer says that I used to get every Doctor Who Adventures issue, also some of those short-lived Doctor Who DVD file discs. You need to head over to the Type 40 DVD and Blu-ray group then, don't you, and talk about those. I didn't submit to those. I did buy Doctor Who Adventures, though. It was the perfect thing to keep my kids quiet. They were just at the right age for that. But yeah, lots of love for Bernard Breslaw, which is pretty handy, isn't it, Simon? Because we're going to open the Doctor Who diary, aren't we? And there may well be a familiar, very tall silhouette within its pages. So over to Simon Horton. Yes, you've been waiting for it. It's the Doctor Who diary.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Yes,
lovely.
Bernard Breslaw is with us.
Somebody mentioned earlier on Simon's always got the best toys.
Because, believe it or not, it is Bernard. Well, it would have been, bless him, it would have been Bernard Breslaw's birthday this week. He would have been 88 tomorrow, bless him. He would have been 88 tomorrow. he not sadly left this mortal coil in 1993, aged 59. Bernard Bresslaw, what a legend. Of course, we know him as Varga in the Ice Warriors. There he is on the right-hand side with his kids. That's with his 2 kids, who were quite traumatised, apparently, the fact
That's why he had the mask off, isn't it? They wouldn't let him have the mask on for it.
And Bernard Bresslaw was 6'7", and yet he incredibly all the actors that played Ice Warriors were over 6 feet tall, but Bernard was still the tallest at 6'7". And Sonny Coldeners, who of course famously also played an Ice Warrior, said that Bernard Bresslaw was the only man that could make him feel small. He was a big bloke. He was born in London in 1934, was our Bernard. Listen to this. He trained at RADA and he was spotted by Laurence Olivier. That was the guy that spotted the talents of Bernard Bresslaw and gave him his first break. He acted, we think of him, of course, from the 14 Carry On films that he did. And somebody just popped up there and said, brilliantly did his catchphrase, which I only asked, which he made very, very famous. But let's not forget, this guy acted with the Young Vic, the RSC, the National Theatre. He did Shakespeare. This guy...
He worked with Sooty.
The Ice Warrior.
He did.
Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah.
He did. But he's a brilliant actor, though.
Cracking
he's a
actor.
brilliant actor. Yeah.
Really,
Comic time.
We kind you kind of forget that because you think of him in the Carry-Ons. That's obviously those are the roles that made him famous from the Carry-On films. But he was just a cracking actor, and you can see from those Carry-On films the characters that he was always given in the Carry-Ons were quite bland and uninteresting, really.
Yeah,
and yet he brought them to life.
He made it. He made it work, though, didn't he?
Correct. You are spot on, Ian. That's what he did. He made those shows work, those Carry-Ons work. But bless him, we did talk about some of the Ice Warriors a few weeks ago, and I mentioned then that Bernard, when he got the role of Varga in the Ice Warriors, was somewhat shocked because he'd seen the script that kind of described the Ice Warriors as sort of Viking-like, and he assumes that his face was going to be seen. And it was only when he actually got there that he discovered he was going to be covered in 6 inches of latex. And was not altogether delighted about this by all accounts. But, look at him there. He's loving every second of it. He clearly relished it. He grasped it. He ran with it. And it's a memorable performance as Varga in the
I've actually met him. I met him when I was 17. Yeah. He was doing, the school took us to see a fellow. He was in a fellow. Yeah, play. He was in the play. And after the play, the whole class went to meet the cast, and he seemed like a really nice guy. Very, very tall, as I remember, incredibly tall. Then again, I was small. So.
He died quite young as well, didn't he, Simon? He's late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just 59 when he died. Bless him. And yet he's one of those people that certainly for people of our generation just seem to have been around forever. It's like they never left us kind of thing, because we're always seeing the Carry-On films all the time.
Bless him.
He played a woman in Carry-On Girls, didn't he?
He did.
Very ahead of his time, was Bernard. Very ahead of his time. What else we got, Simon?
What we've also got is Ben Miller is 56 today. Ben Miller is, of course, played the Sheriff of Nottingham in the excruciatingly titled Robot Show.
I like that episode.
Still sets those teeth in age. Ben Miller was born in London, brought up in Nantwich. Now listen. Ben Miller studied natural sciences at Cambridge and did a PhD in solid-state physics far before he became famous for being an actor. His thesis was, get this, take a deep breath, called Novel Quantum Effects in Low Temperature Quasi-Zero-Dimensional Mesoscopic Electron Systems. I think I deserve an award just managing to say that. He deserves an award for writing. I'm not kidding. This is not kidding. This was his thesis.
Jane Baker will write.
He kind of should be playing the Doctor, really, shouldn't he?
He'd make a good Doctor. He really would make a good Doctor.
Yeah. He thinks so too. He's been angling for the part actually this last couple of weeks.
He would really make a good Doctor.
I think he would make a good Doctor. I'm actually lucky enough to have worked with Ben Miller many years ago when he was still working working with Alexander Armstrong. It was actually my very, very first job in TV. I was a lowly runner on some drama skits that he did. I think it was for Sky TV or something with Alexander Armstrong. And I have to say, they were both absolute gents. Really, this was long before they were famous.
He was in Primeval, wasn't he?
Top bloke.
He was.
Yes, he was like the director, like the boss. Yeah.
The one job that I'm amazed to find that he did, I don't know whether anybody knows this, he played the voice of Monkey with Johnny Vegas.
Yes.
For those
What?
ITV.
Oh, I thought you meant the Japanese kung fu
you meant
show.
No.
I remember. Yeah,
You remember
I didn't know
Monkey.
that.
You
Yeah, I didn't know
remember
that was.
Johnny Vegas. Monkey, no, Monkey, come back in.
Yeah.
Monkey.
That one.
I just couldn't remember the monkey saying anything in the adverts.
I can't. But he was the voice anyway. He was the voice.
He's great actor, Ben Miller. I was enjoying
Great
it.
actor. And he's 56 today, so we wish him a very, very, very
Happy birthday, Ben.
Absolutely. Now, listen, moving on. I'm really, really chuffed actually with this because we've got a bit of a theme running today because it's 47 years since the Sontaran Experiment Part 1 showed in 1975. And we're running now into something of the diary now becomes something of a Sontaran fest, which is great. My very, very famous monsters in Doctor Who ever. I take these over the Daleks any day. So 47 years since the Sontaran Experiment, also known as the Destructors, as people of the Sound Effects LP will famously know, because it was misnamed on there. Listen, the Sontaran Experiment episode 1 got 11 million viewers.
Wow.
There was no ITV strike. They just got those viewers back in those days. Written, of course, by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. Robert Holmes, who created the Sontarans, apparently gave Bob and Dave a 3-hour lecture on Sontaran culture, including their lives, which they were a bit mystified about, to be honest. This, of course, was Tom's very, very second story, actually, in production, shot entirely on location, which is only the second story after Spearhead to be shot entirely on location. But this was the very first one to be shot on location and on outside broadcast video. And you can see there's a couple of the cameras there. And it's also the first story, and it's probably still the only story, with absolutely no interiors whatsoever. It is entirely location based. It's also only one of 11 stories not to include the TARDIS anywhere in it. I'll let you have a think of what the other 10 are. There's only 11 of them that don't include the TARDIS anywhere. And of course, bless him, Kevin Lindsay, who played Styre in this, brilliantly, memorably, the best Sontaran actor ever, died sadly not long after the Sontaran Experiment of his heart complaint. And he told this wonderful story of filming the Sontaran Experiment and sitting up on Dartmoor, as you can see in that photo, as a he was sitting there eating his lunch while a walker and their dog walked past, and the dog went absolutely berserk at Kevin Sontaran outfit. And of course, this was also the story that Tom Baker famously broke his collarbone on, and nearly thought he was going to lose the job of the Doctor because he'd only been playing the part for a couple of months. And my favourite fun fact on this one is that Glyn Jones, who plays the part of Krantz, of course, wrote the Space Museum, the William Hartnell story, the Space Museum. Bizarre or what? It still blows my mind.
That's the kind of fantastic fact that the Doctor Who diary was brought into being for. Yeah, I always forget that.
So I just love the Sontaran Experiment. It's one of my very favourite stories ever. It's only 2 episodes long.
You know what, Simon? You're not alone. Several people in the chat, I know, friend of the show, Neil Cole, also worships the Sontaran Experiment. Doesn't he? Loves it.
Yeah, it does. It's just a cracking story, I think. I just love the Sontarans, which is handy, really, because, as I say, moving on, it's 44 years, believe it or not, since we were watching the Invasion of Time episode 4 in 1978. Get this also got 11 million viewers, so Doctor Who was still wildly popular in those days. And this episode, of course, this is episode 4 that we're talking about, that was screened 44 years ago this week. And this is the famous episode when, of course, we all thought the story was over. I don't know whether you remember this, Ian, but we thought the story was over, and suddenly these guys just turn up as a shock ending at the end of it.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember it. this is part of my childhood, and it's wonderful.
It was knockout. I just remember being because I loved the Sontarans so much. It was just so exciting to see these guys back. And The Invasion of Time was written actually by David Agnew, which is a pseudonym for Graham Williams and the script editor Anthony Reid, because another story had fallen through. So they rushed this through. And part of the reason was because Graham Williams, the producer at the time, loved the Sontarans. Derek Deadman, you can see right in the middle of the picture there. Derek Deadman makes a questionable Sontaran after he's dead. He's a Cockney Sontaran, and he tries to do the husky voice, but it doesn't quite come off. He tries his best. This was directed by Gerald Blake, who had directed The Abominable Snowman for with Patrick Troughton, of course. And Gerald Blake recalls chastising Tom Baker on this series, on this story. Tom Baker was apparently in typically belligerent mood and being a little bit difficult. And apparently Gerald Blake chastised him by saying, "I remember when you were Patrick Troughton," and that rather put him in his place. But it's The Invasion of Time is in a way a difficult story to love. It's not one of my favorites, but I do love the fact that the Sontarans are in and they still kick ass and they're still on the top of their game. And this episode in particular is great. That ending is just brilliant.
I find it a lot of fun. There's a lot of fat on that story, just like a lot of six-parters. But it's what you make of it, and these things can be just a fun ride when you're watching them, can't they?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And so sticking with Sontarans ridiculously, because it's 37 years yesterday since we were sitting down to Doctors episode 2 in 1985. It is just the remarkable coincidence. I said to Dan, I can't let this one pass. There are 3 Sontaran.
I wish you would.
I love this story.
Sontaran Fest.
I hate it.
This one was apparently The Invasion of Time was originally slated to be written by Robert Holmes, who of course had created the Sontarans, but he couldn't do it because of work commitments. So he passed. But of course, he came back in 1985 to write this one, his final Sontaran story, The Two Doctors in 85. And it was also Peter Moffat's last story as director. And also, of course, Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines' final performances in Doctor Who on TV. In their roles as well. I always find it quite amusing, this story, that the wigs, apparently, Cecchini and Shockeye, were lost on the plane somehow on the way over to Spain, and they've never been found. And they will appear.
They were probably destroyed.
Who knows? People, and of course, as a result of this, the whole cast. Well, some of the cast had to take a bit of an early holiday. They got a few days off while they had to wait while new wigs were sent over from the UK. So they just thrashed around the pool for a few days. So they were very happy because they were in Spain.
Do you think that was a very convenient thing that happened? That maybe that Jacqueline could have.
It is funny. Colin Baker cites this as his favourite story. I know we've talked about The Two Doctors before, and there's a lot of people out there that don't like it.
I hate it.
Yeah, I know you do. I think JT hates it.
I like it.
The Two Doctors. I do like
I do too, Matt.
It's terrible. As everyone.
It works for me. What's interesting with this episode in particular, episode 2, The Two Doctors, yesterday, 37 years ago, because it was just literally 5 days later after this episode that the show was axed. And of course, The Two Doctors was criticised because of a lot of the violence that's in there. Amongst other things, we see Shockeye breaking the neck of a rat and then eating it. We see Stike stabbed in the leg with a dagger. There is a degree of violence in there. And as I say, it just so happens that then 5 days later, 5 days from now, 37 years ago,
about that.
We woke up to the news that Doctor Who at that point was axed. Got withdrawn later, a few days later, but at that point, this was the very moment in history.
It was gone, wasn't it? It's the only time that Doctor Who has ever properly been sort of okay.
It's really funny because they use the British people use axed, don't they? And the Americans use cancelled. Because I remember that in the papers, axed.
Well, let's be honest here. Axed is more. It's more tabloid, isn't it? It's more British. You know what I mean?
Oh, they use that here.
Oh, do they?
Okay.
They use axed here.
I agree, Lord Thoth. There are worse Doctor Who episodes. There are better Doctor Who episodes, but I've got a lot of love for it. I think there are a lot of things wrong with it. I think a lot of the problem comes from the fact they tried to shoehorn this into a story around Spain that they probably shouldn't have done. It was originally going to be set in New Orleans, and they couldn't get permission. And so there are problems with it. But I just think it's directed with a lot of panache. It's an enjoyable romp. It doesn't hang around. Certainly episode 2 and 3 I think are great episodes, so a lot of love for me with
was it sorry Simon, was it because they were going to do that soap? Is that why they went out there?
That was part of it. They were testing the ground. They were testing the ground for so it just kind of got pushed into there, and it's a shame because it suffers for it, because Robert Holmes then struggled to quite why are we in Spain. It doesn't just but you know, I love it. Now, here we go. Here's the thing. We really are going into Sontarans this week's diary, because 37 years ago, yesterday, also, same as the two Doctors, was this little gem, a fix with Sontarans on a certain kids' television program that we're not allowed to mention the name of anymore. This literally went out just after. Literally about half an hour after the end of episode 2 of the two Doctors, and get this one, it got 10 million views, which was actually 4 million more viewers than the two Doctors got. This one,
oh no,
for the two Doctors. This little skit, for those people that haven't quite seen this, it is actually out there on the Two Doctors DVD, and I understand it is on the season 22 Blu-ray box set, but I think it's going to be slightly edited for certain reasons, to do with certain presenters that we're not allowed to mention. And it was written by Eric Saywood. It was just a 10-minute skit on a kids show where little Gareth Jenkins, that you can see there in the middle of the picture, he was only 8 years old at the time, bless him, and it's his grandmother that has made his Colin Baker costume. He was very proud to tell everybody, and so he wrote this TV program and wanted to meet Colin Baker, and they went far better than that, because they did this entire 10-minute skit around Gareth Jenkins on the set of the TARDIS, with Clinton Grain, that you can see there, who of course had played Stike in the Two Doctors that we just finished watching. This talk about intertextuality, and he plays Group Marshal Nathan. And his subordinate was called Turner. Do you see what they did there?
very Sontaran names. Yeah.
Together. And Gareth, bless him, as a result of appearing, he got given the Meson gun that you can see there, the Meson rifle that was the biggest.
Wow. I wonder if he's still got it.
Now, Gareth's still out there, apparently.
Apparently he's still a fan. Of the show, not of this show, of our show.
Gareth was apparently reunited at a signing event with Colin Baker back in 2013.
Wow!
They've met since this, but Colin recalls, and I quote from Colin here. He says, "I recall clearly the disappointment I felt for Gareth, for whom I suspect the whole experience was daunting and overwhelming." He does look a little bit daunted in the pictures there and overwhelmed. But
yeah, he does, doesn't he?
I think, in all honesty, I think it was probably an absolute roller coaster. And of course, there's Janet Fielding there with a terrible 80s hairdo.
Mullet.
Of many terrible 80s hairdos, this is probably the worst one, isn't it, Matt?
Nice to see her again, though.
I always love the fact that she acknowledges that this is the first time she's ever met Colin Baker.
Yeah.
In this one, she's always like, "Oh, you've changed." Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, not for the better, you know."
Oh, the character, yeah. I get
it was. Of course, it was due to be Nicola Bryant, and Nicola Bryant was away filming, so they brought back Janet Fielding. But bless her, she's for stepping in and putting on the old air hostess uniform and jumping back in. It does
kind of count as a mini-sode because it's got its own opening credits and title up on screen. And, it's been edited by very talented people over on YouTube, the various versions of this with extra effects and certain elements removed. So it does actually make for a fun sort of 5 minutes watch. And I bet I hope that Gareth is still Yeah, I hope he's still fond of Doctor Who and fond of this time.
We kind of need to know what happened to that needle gun, don't we? Did that end up on eBay? I wonder. I don't know. Of course, it would be at this point, if JT was here, it would be at this point that we would have an argument about whether this is canon or not.
No, I thought you were going to say if JT was here, he's probably got it underneath his coffee table.
Probably.
The rifle, I mean, the rifle.
Yeah. So anyway, it just seems a remarkable coincidence that we've got 3 episodes.
We had to go with it, yeah.
And it's just Sontarans all in the same week through those years. So, and I say, I love the Sontarans. Who doesn't?
Marvelous stuff, Simon. Fantastic work as ever with that trip down memory lane with the Doctor Who diary. Thanks. And what as your Ice Warrior there? Has he got a name?
This one, I have mentioned him before now. I'm very proud of this. I painted him myself. He's a little metal miniature by Fine Art Castings, and I did all the work on this one when I was about 12 years old. So he's one of my
still looks awesome. Wonderful. And yes, another riotously successful Doctor Who diary. People love all that. People going through their own dusty memories and bringing them out to compare with ours. Keep them coming, everybody. And if you love the Doctor Who diary as much as we do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell, hit the cloister bell so you get the notifications, and share us along to people who enjoy the past, the present, and like to speculate about the future of Doctor Who, which we're going to be doing again in a minute or two. So, Ian, we can't keep you. We can't please you with these things, can we?
The music sucks. Anyway,
maybe you'll be interested in this because Bad Wolf Productions is going to be the all new home of Doctor Who. Have you heard that news?
Yes, of course. I heard it on this Type 40.
Did you really? Good man. You obviously liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell so we got the notifications, didn't you? Of course you did. Well, did you know that they are looking for staff at the moment and that this is being advertised now? So they're looking for an office.
I can do that.
I think Simon could do that.
Yeah, I used to be a runner. I can do that.
Yeah.
Office runner for high-end drama. So what does a runner's duties entail, Simon?
Oh, blimey. What
coffee, tea, dinner, lunch,
just everything. They really are. There's a reason why they're called the dog bodies, basically, because they are the gophers. You just go for that. You go. It was one of the most miserable experiences of my life being a runner, and I always vowed when I got to actually be higher up in the echelons, I would always treat the runners that were working on productions I was on much better, and I always did, because it is a thankless job being a runner, because they do.
I was a runner for 3 years.
Nobody else.
Really?
And they get no thanks at all.
No. Well, I was working in post-production as a runner, and they loved me. You know, they seriously, they loved me. I loved doing it as well until I got promoted. Then I realised what real work was. Do you know what I mean? So
would you like to be a runner though for these two? Wow.
I think, you know what, I'd love to be a runner for these two, and you know, come back to Type 40 and tell you exactly what's going on.
Is that Jane? Who's that on the left? Jane Tranter. She terrifies.
Jane Tranter and Julie Gardner there at Bad Wolf Productions. Yeah.
She
Milk Central
and still have room for croissants. She would.
Oh God, yes. So they are looking for runners, but they are fleshing out the staff there at Bad Wolf as we speak. You know, we spoke a few weeks ago about the various people who'd been either appointed or reappointed. Phil Collinson is there as one of several producers on the all new Doctor Who, which should hit screens from in one form or another. From 2023 onwards. I don't see why not, Ian. I think you should put your hat in the ring for whatever positions they may have.
Yeah. Director.
And then get us all jobs.
Yeah.
And in no time at all, it will all be all
I wish.
I love his face. Look at his expression on his face.
As you mentioned there, with the Bad Wolf era, production is going to be starting in the next few months, and there are fan sites and other content makers and the usual kind of people on Twitter who are pulling the trigger, announcing that all the time through sock puppet Twitter accounts and setting up accounts to make them look like official accounts to try and fool people, which, you know, it's funny the first time you see it, but after the 12th, 15th time, it gets a bit old, I think. But I don't know what people in the chat think. Let us know what you make of all of that, whether you're on social media, whether that all tires you out, if you're exhausted by the wait. Oh, we've got a few people throwing their hats in the ring there for the runner's job. So Carol Jude, she's available. And Grand Moff Miranda says, I can't run anymore. My wheels have fallen off. Yeah, we can get them soldered back on. Sure, they'd be quite, they'd be accommodating, I think. Problem being, he's landed. He's in the building, in the chat. Good to see him. And does Archer Collins says, does that mean gopher or office manager?
Depends. It depends where they put you, I guess. So there you go.
Jamie Knight says extra frothy coffee.
Coffee, yeah.
I think you've just put that in the chat just to see if I could actually say it. But yes, so yeah, the Bad Wolf era is about to kick off. And we've been speculating about the future of Doctor Who since before we knew there was a Bad Wolf era to even talk about. And one of the things that we did talk about quite candidly, I'd say it was more than a year ago, was the short-term future of Doctor Who. And the fact that, not to put too fine a point on it, that all was far from well on the production under Chris Chibnall and producer Matt Strevens last year, to the point where, I think we were the ones, we put it out there that Chris Chibnall and Matt Strevens had both been, in effect, sacked from their positions at some point last year, and production of Doctor Who was to close down. And over the weekend, Matt Strevens, who is the now former producer of Doctor Who, he was speaking to at Gallifrey One. So he was there on stage in front of a hall full of people talking about the series, about his role in it, about being a Doctor Who fan, and all the rest of it. And he was speaking quite candidly, wasn't he, Charlotte? I don't think he intended to go quite as candid as he actually did.
What did he say?
Well, here's the thing. He said so much stupid. Why would you say that things? It makes you think, God, maybe you did know what you were saying. Because
what did he say?
What did he say then?
I think we've got it all coming up, believe me. So I think what we've got the difference is, I think we've got the situation, Simon, and yourself, having worked in telly, and you, Ian, and other people out there will know that when you're on staff in a role like the producer of a huge intellectual property like Doctor Who, everything that gets issued through the press office is vetted meticulously. Vetted meticulously, word by word, isn't it, Simon? It goes through a filter, basically, doesn't it?
Yes, and I still remember working on Emmerdale, and they were, they really were they were forensic in what they were prepared to allow out, what photo. No, you've got to take 6 inches off this side of the photo, and you've got to they are really on the ball with everything that gets out into the public domain. And even more so now with the internet, because once it's out there, you can't take it back.
Yeah, it's protecting the product, isn't it? They have to protect the product.
Of course it is. And when they're in a position at a big corporation like that, when they're on staff, they are representatives of it as well. And so it goes through the system. But now, of course, Matt Strevens doesn't work for the BBC. He's not in that role anymore. So he's on this stage. There's no filter. There's nobody there to help him out. And he's running
there's no filter.
Now,
come on, bring it on.
And bear in mind that this is the guy who just a couple of weeks ago said this about Doctor Who's abysmal viewing figures. What's fascinating to me is the way Doctor Who viewing figures are obsessed over, unlike many other shows on TV. And that's fine, because I think it's a testament to the fact that people are always still keen to read about Doctor Who. I think our ratings are really respectable. Let's just let that one sink in. Let that one sink in for a moment. You know, Matt, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes a cloud is just a cloud, but sometimes when overnight figures are reported and compared to previous consolidated figures in order to make the most dramatic headline, that's a bit disingenuous. Is it, Matt? Is it really? Is it really? Especially when you look at the way... Especially when you look at the way, it's like a bingo card of nonsense. Especially when you look at the way that television is consumed today. Ding, 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 ding. Doctor Who is available on iPlayer, so audiences can still watch it whenever and wherever they choose. That's what he came out with when he was still on staff. Nonsense like that. I don't even know where to start with that. it is, isn't it, Simon? It's just a mass of words that doesn't really say anything. It outs him as a creative who was completely out of touch with his audience, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's we've been critical of this in the past. It drives me mad, this sort of corporate speech that these people come out with these days. Because it's the kind of things that you don't say. You write them down for a press release. Those aren't things that people actually say. They're just written down. It just
and you could see that because he created a massive straw man, because nobody compared the overnights to Consolidated because you can't. Like,
he's just supporting the lie. That's all.
No, that's what it is. So it's a straw man. He's creating. Oh, they were all being disingenuous and dramatic.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, we were just reporting your figures accurately.
What we're doing.
He thinks that people out there who aren't in the industry know absolutely nothing. That's the impression that I get, Simon. That he thinks that we know absolutely nothing about this sector, about television, about the way it's watched, and about the way it is accredited, shall we say? Which is it's a fundamental mistake to make when you're talking about Doctor Who fans. So who is acknowledged that people are very keen to read about it, and we are probably. I can't imagine Call the Midwife fans obsessing over ratings in the way the Doctor Who fans do.
No, of course.
No.
For example. And I mean, I do like it how when you hear things that Matt Stevens has said before and you think, I wonder what that guy looks like. And he looks like pretty much as you would expect him to look. So that is pretty funny. But yeah, he was
like a prick.
He looks like a total,
come on, Matt.
And he also, but I
think you're right.
All this stuff, all this talk about the way that TV is watched nowadays, he does seem to have forgotten the fact that back in the 80s we did actually have video cassette recorders and shelves full of these. So we did have other options to watch television, didn't we? So Ian, it's as if they're trying to airbrush the past, as if people couldn't catch up with something later if they really, really wanted to. I mean, there was certainly when Doctor Who was on opposite Coronation Street in the late 80s, most houses, I think, by that time had domestic video recorders or VCRs, as they call it in the States. And if you had one of my mother never watched Coronation Street, but I know most did. And so, these things came into play. VHS tapes came into play. You were recording it anyway because you were a Doctor Who fan. So why would you not record it? So you would effectively watch it later. But Matt Stevens was on stage talking about the more recent past and about the end of the Chibnall era. Now we've been talking about it on this show.
Me too.
We've been talking about it on the show for quite a while. But he was. Well, let's get this absolutely right. So we had heard on this panel from multiple sources that those two gentlemen had been dismissed, and obviously that Jodie Whittaker was going too. We were all called liars who didn't know what we were talking about, which is fine. Got nothing to prove to anybody, have we? And we just tell the truth as we hear it and as we see it. It's up to people whether they believe it or not. But what he's been talking about is how they found out about the series coming back with Russell T Davies. It turns out that that both Chris Chibnall and Matt Stevens knew about it, about the show coming back with Bad Wolf, with Russell T Davies, was the day before it was in the news. So when that story broke, they'd only known about it for 24 hours before, by which point they were out of their jobs anyway. And so let's get this exactly right. He said, I was only told about Russell T Davies' return the day before it was officially announced. And he says, my utter relief was that we didn't break it and Jodie gets to regenerate after all. This has all been picked up by multiple people. Multiple people who were in the audience at Gallifrey One reported that and tweeted it out. And yet it's made it through to the mainstream press. Places like Screen Rant have picked it up. Various geek-related websites. I think it's made it into the mainstream press as well. So everything that we heard, because we had heard, hadn't we, that last year that at the end of Series 12, that Doctor Who was going out of production, that was that. No further series of Doctor Who had been commissioned for BBC One, and the production team was disbanding, and it was all closing down. And really, we were right. I mean, we couldn't have possibly known that production would then pick up somewhere else completely with a bunch of completely different people as quickly as it did. I know that some of us on Type 40 did know about that before it broke out. I won't say who, but I know some of us did know about it. But generally speaking, we were right. Production was closed down, wasn't it, Simon? Everything that we heard was true.
Yeah, it was gone. It was history. I'm just amazed that he would have said what you just said. He said
he didn't break it.
I know.
Super glue. Get the super glue. That's all I can say.
They might have broken it. They might have broken it. That's the. I mean, what a statement to make! My utter relief. We didn't break it. In other words, he thought there was a possibility that he did break it. That they might have. It's just
exactly.
Extraordinary.
So from their perspective, until that very point, it was ended. They had produced the very last series of new Doctor Who, Charlotte, that had begun in 2004. It had ended as far as they knew. Just as we've been told.
It's funny. It's funny, Matt, because you're relieved you didn't break it. You're relieved Jodie got to regenerate, but you didn't know the series was going to return the day before the fans. So you did break it because they had to literally either go running to Russell, or Russell had to come and tell them what they were doing. So it's like, this just shows how bad this era was when it comes to damage in the BBC's eyes, that there wasn't a traditional sort of here's what's next. It sounds like to me, and his comments sort of hint at this really strongly, it was up in the air. There was a time when the show was completely up in the air and they didn't have a plan, and it was just like, we could have had the end of Doctor Who. It really does sound like, and I agree with Simon, and this isn't and he has a load of other stupid comments, but why not admit this?
Well, we'd also talked about the fact that Jodie Whittaker's regeneration was intended to be open-ended too, Simon. If you remember, that's something we all talked about at length too. And again, we were called lies for that. And that wasn't talked about as such. But we do have this from Reddit. So this has made its way through to Reddit in conjunction with that quote from Matt Stevens. So, we've got... just had a very interesting message from BBC Studios about the regeneration. It really doesn't sound like we're meeting the 14th Doctor in Jodie Whittaker's last episode. They're planning to fade to black. They were planning to fade to black when it was written, and that Chibnall only learned about Russell T Davies the day before the announcement. So this from Reddit 3 months ago, marries up exactly to what Matt Stevens said on stage the other day, which tallies up completely with all the news, all the gossip, all the speculation that we brought you here on Type 40 Live throughout last summer.
Yeah, and we've been saying this for months, haven't we? That we don't expect to see Jodie regenerate into.
If Jodie regenerates into a man, it's going to be so funny with the man wearing that stupid rainbow jumper, and I don't know. It's just going to be weird. Yeah, it's going to be weird. Yeah, so right? Just goes to prove that they broke Doctor Who, and it just goes to prove that they've been lying all this time about how successful it is.
And I'm still confident that when it comes back, it will come back with a hard in, that Russell will hit the ground running exactly the same way as he did Rose. You will not see a new Doctor wearing Jodie's costume. You'll just see the new Doctor hit the ground running. That's what I'm convinced will happen.
I've got a quote from somebody else, Ian. This is from you. On the Type 40 podcast, The Second Coming, that we published on the 24th of September last year, you said that the BBC have behaved sneakily with regard to the announcement of the Russell T Davies Bad Wolf deal. Well, if a senior member of the production team didn't know what was going on, it looks like you were correct.
Did I say that? No, I didn't say that. Did I say that?
Take credit for it.
Just take credit.
Run with it.
Okay. I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone.
Thanks to Paul Murray, who sent us that. He's been catching up on some of our previous material, so he sent us that, and he's done the research on that.
Oh my God. I feel I feel horrible.
So this may sound like a massive "I told you so," but I think after so long of being told that we were making stuff up and that we had some sort of malicious intent and that we didn't know what we were talking about and all the rest of it, all the standard names that people who don't, how can I put this, who didn't get on board with this era, Charlotte, and didn't repeat the mantra over and over again. All those names that everybody else gets called. The percentage of the audience that has increased over the last 4 or 5 years, that is now the majority of Doctor Who's viewing audience who have bailed on this era, who weren't convinced, and who want it over as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because I don't know if you're going to include it, but he also talked about Thasmin. And he basically what a lot of us have been saying about Thasmin, which is this doesn't feel natural. This doesn't feel planned. It feels like it's come out of nowhere. He literally said in an interview, I don't know if it's in Gallifrey or another interview, that, that wasn't planned. Thasmin was not planned. We know this now from Stevens, that Jodie after Series 11 saw some people on Twitter ship them. And this is how he worded it in the interview. And then in Series 12, they forgot about it. And then in Series 13, they thought they'd do something with it. So that's another case when we all got called names. We all got told, oh, you're just this, you're that. When actually Stevens has now come out and proved that that whole romance, it was just this sort of thing that they did on the fly.
Because they didn't know what they were doing.
No, and you can see it. You can see it though, can't you, Barnaby? When you watch Flux and Eve of the Daleks in particular, that was on New Year's Day, those scenes, you can see them being literally dropped into the screenplay with no grace or subtlety. They're not worked into the characters. They're just all of a sudden they're just there, aren't they?
There's no thought put into any of it. I mean, there never really was, particularly to the end of it. I mean, just everything was just. It just seemed so unplanned and just a bit lazy as well. So, I mean, par for the course, really. So,
but they had a bed, didn't they? They had a bed in one scene, so I was told. A bed?
They did. Yeah. One of Flux, beginning of it. Yeah. But you're right, Barney. Lazy is the perfect word for it. That's what it is.
People in the chat saying the same thing. Laziest era ever. It's one thing to be shaped by audience investment in the stories that you're telling and in the characters that you've introduced them to, but that's not where that was coming from. I don't think it's purely political, because the simple fact is that although it's just been announced that Yaz is Doctor Who's longest standing companion ever.
No, she's not.
No, not in screen time, but chronologically that she is.
Yeah, of course they would put that up.
Yet we know her. We know her less well than anybody else that's ever been in the cast. That as a character.
Yeah.
We know next to nothing about her.
It's the worst type of screenwriting I've ever experienced on screen. It really is. The first season of Doctor Who. The writing is so bad. You just wince every time something is so stupid. You wince all the time, and that's how bad the screenplay was.
And it's shocking here. Let's remind ourselves: this is primetime BBC One, because you're right. It's bad writing, and it felt like a really bad, a cheap sort of series on a sort of satellite station that only a couple of thousand people would be watching. It didn't feel like primetime BBC One. That's the truth of it. There's no excuse for it.
We've all seen the figures. We had that from Doctor Who magazine a few weeks ago. Tom Spilsbury, he tried his best to spin these figures that the overnights actually included catch-up figures as well. They included iPlayer figures, that the actual live viewing figures were way, way less. With by the time we got to Eve of the Daleks, that was on a public holiday on New Year's Day. 2 million people watched that episode. These are officially the worst Doctor Who viewing figures of its entire history. And for Matt Stevens to come out with let's just go back to that quote again. What was it exactly? My utter relief was we didn't break it. You broke it, my friend. You seriously broke this show.
It's not broken. I mean, come on. I was saying 2 million views is a success then. Is he going to try and spin that as a success?
He doesn't need to.
Well,
When
he's-
Tom Spilsbury is doing it for him at Doctor Who magazine. I got a lot of time for Tom, and I wouldn't like to be the guy that makes their way through all these stats and figures and numbers. I'm not great with numbers, but there's some things are worth spinning. And Tom, this isn't it, mate. You may as well give it up. It's fooling nobody. People in the chat, 100% exactly, Simon. People agree with what you're saying. And you feel it's been a massive letdown. John White's in the chat and says, I think there is plenty of ground for Phasmin laid in both Series 11 and Series 12 scripts, especially Arachnids, which was Chib's writing. Then as soon as Season 11 aired, they hit radio times with Phasmin articles. I don't know. I never noticed a single thing about it. I've got to be honest.
It wasn't romance. In Series 11, at a push, you could say close friends. There was nothing romantic. And I think that's the difference.
I think I agree. And there was almost a hero worship there.
Yeah.
But when you got your favourite teacher or something, you might take them an apple.
Yeah. I think some fans or some people really got the sort of misunderstood what friendship and romance is. And then they just made it out like this. And then it was only really in Flux, I think, that they really started to hint towards romantic. And another thing is, it's all Yaz, and that's always been my issue with this. It's all one way. There's nothing from Jodie's Doctor explicitly.
Well, it's nothing from Jodie's Doctor. Full stop. She just can't.
Yeah, nothing at all.
Emote. Yeah. So,
I think she's not been given the material to try and do anything. But I bless her. I still maintain that she's just not of a caliber to be a leading actress. I'm sorry, Jodie. I'm sure you're a lovely person, and you've got to have a certain caliber to be a leading actor or actress.
Terry on Tuesday is in the chat on YouTube and says,
"Hi, Terry.
Stretch it so far to fit their fantasy."
Yeah, it's true.
I think it's because in this case, there's nothing of any weight or body to latch on to. So the only thing they've got is that which is in their heads. I'm not excusing them because I think it's unimaginative. Anyway, but
the screenplay was so bad it didn't have a beginning, middle, and an end. For most episodes, it was just ridiculous. As you take the spiders one, they left a big spider in one of those rooms, didn't they? And they didn't even resolve it. Do you know what I mean? It's like it just abandoned the story and moved on to the next one.
They destroyed the whole universe.
Right?
They destroyed the whole universe in Flux, and I don't think we ever.
I haven't seen Flux. I wouldn't know, but
there was a lot of things that weren't tied up.
You're right. Barnaby, they destroyed the whole universe, and then somehow it just in the last 30 seconds it was just like, oh well, no, we just kind of ignore that, or we didn't describe. I don't know what happened there. I still don't know.
We've got another comment here from John White who's watching on YouTube and says, but I think the disaster collapse of Series 11's ratings gave them cold feet. So he believes that they were toying with the idea back then, but then when the ratings began to collapse, they got cold feet on the idea, and then they brought it back in the end of Flux. As to tick that last box and to play to the people on Twitter and the activists and the people who crave and who seem to need, as Terry described it, that kind of shipping. I don't know. I'm certainly not going to go back and watch those episodes again. I wouldn't do that to myself.
What will happen to Yaz though?
It's one reading. I don't know. I just want to say that hello to Terry on Tuesday. That's Terry Cooper, our friend Terry, who was on the show last week. He's back again next week. If he's still free, he's back again next week for our special event show. There'll be more about that before the end of the show. We'll tell you about that soon. Terry will be back on the show for a packed Type 40 Live next Thursday, 7:45. Don't miss it. So with what John's saying, I can see what he means, but I don't think that's the case. I'm more in Charlotte's camp on that. But what interests me and what I feel is the closer marries up perfectly with what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, the absolute and complete failure. So we've got this situation where this show's in production for 2. It's allowed to stagger into a 3rd season, basically. Most of the law-altering furniture that they'd set out in the first 2 runs, they barely even walk around it during Flux. It's pushed around a little bit. That's why the actors always look as bored as they do. It never really goes anywhere. And I believe that, that everything that we've said is true. To me, it's been borne out by Stephen's comments this week. The Chris Chibnall era has been curtailed by 1 or maybe even 2 seasons. I believe that he intended on stringing this out to a 4th and 5th season on screen, where it would have all this stuff about the Fugitive Doctor and the Timeless Children will all have been trotted out at a snail's pace, that he was in any rush to get there. They were removed from their positions at some point last year, I believe, and all those plans pushed to one side. He could barely touch them in flux, even the Daleks, and I believe that Legend of the Sea Devils, that's coming at Easter, and the Centenary Special will barely do anything with it either. That is why Titan Comics have been given the okay to tell all these stories about the Fugitive Doctor and to play with all that, because he's got no intention of doing anything with it at all. I'm sure that Joe Martin, which she'll pop up on screen, there'll be a few sort of gazes at one another, and it will go absolutely nowhere after that, because it's a dead end, something he was going to do in a later series that they never got to make.
Wow. Could be.
Could be. Who knows?
I just wonder. I don't know. There's part of me that when I look back now through the Chibnall era, and I haven't watched all of it because I just couldn't bring myself to. But what I have watched of it, it feels like there was no game plan there at all. It really felt most of it seemed to be knee-jerk reaction, just thrashing around for just something to write, something to do, something to make, something to just stick up on television. I never really felt that there was any shape to it at all, any game plan at all.
We now know Stevens, because this was before, and I need to find the actual article, but he said in an interview, this is why I think Stevens should just not be allowed to talk now to the press. He said a while ago.
No, you should talk.
Yeah. He should for us, but I mean,
singing like a canary at the moment.
Yeah, he said a while ago that Joe wasn't planned, that Joe was a last-minute idea. So that's two things now. We now know from if Stevens is telling the truth that were added, like you were saying, sort of not planned and just thought, we'll do this. We'll do this, sort of.
It makes you wonder what they were saying in the writers' room when they had all the writers in front of them. And there was no game plan. It was just like, you just write wherever you want, and you just write wherever you want. You know what I mean?
So could that be why there is
new, weren't they? All the writers were new.
Well, who was the guy who wrote Fugitive of the Jadoon and Demons of the Punjab, Matt? Because there are 2 writers. There's a 2 writers credits on Fugitive of the Jadoon, Chris Chibnall, and the writer's name, who I can't remember. I've sort of blocked it out.
Vinay Patel.
Vinay Patel. Yeah, he's an insufferable NPC. Total wokist, so no wonder I've blocked it out. But I suspect that he wrote the story, and Chris Chibnall went back into it and adjusted his script to include all the stuff with the Fugitive Doctor. That would make perfect sense to me, because, to be honest, I thought that Patel's characters in Demons of the Punjab, which is far from perfect, were a lot stronger than those of other episodes. So that would, and yet all the Chaos in Cardiff stuff that was rumoured to have happened around the production of Fugitive of the Jadoon.
You still can't say, can you?
I can't say the majority of these episode titles, but that's pretty much where we are with it at the moment. In my view, Matt Stevens has not so much outed them, but I get the impression, and I haven't seen footage from the convention, so I haven't seen him say these words and heard the intonations in his voice, but just the words there, those cold words, seems to me that there's a man who is almost relieved to be out of that position. And in all sincerity, Mr. Stevens, I wish you well in whatever you've got coming up next. I think you'll be, after getting out of this car crash, I wish you every luck in whatever you've got coming up in the future. But it does seem to me that he's possibly relieved to be away from a show that has so publicly broken down. And the fact that Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf have swooped in to rescue the intellectual property on the eve of its 60th anniversary, because that was the biggest disaster of all, to potentially leave a show as big as Doctor Who when it's about to mark its 60th anniversary, not just for its cultural effect, Simon, but all that potential money they'd leave on the table to sales of a production and sales of time merchandise, it would have been very foolish, wouldn't it? And somebody would have had to have carried the can for that, because there's no way that would have been intentional. And who would have thought back in 2018, 2019 that this is where we'd be coming up to
Chibnall and him, he carried the can, didn't they? They fired both of them. And what I heard through my contacts is they brought them into the office to fire them. Jodie wasn't with them, apparently. So there you go.
Multiple sources for over a long period of time. And we were certainly saying it before everybody else here at Type 40 Live. And I feel completely vindicated in bringing you all of that last year. And, we'll continue to bring you the truth as we hear it and as we feel it. You always get our completely unedited, respectful and playful sometimes takes on what's going on in the Doctor Who universe. But that's how we roll. That's what we'll continue to do, because we think that's what you like. And that's how we like to talk amongst ourselves. And we speak completely freely. And we have fun in the Doctor Who universe, because that's what real Doctor Who fandom has always been about, hasn't it, Simon?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We call it as it is, but like we've said many, many times, people watching this might think, "Oh, why they must hate Doctor Who?" No, believe we love Doctor Who. That's why we feel so passionate about it, and we can't all wait until it gets back on track and it gets back to a show that we all love again.
No.
So yeah.
Well, that all brought everything down, didn't it? All that stuff. just brought it all down.
Good news.
It had to be said. It had to be said. So yeah, if everybody's still with us and prepared for more, we're going to bring back the love as we head into the final segment of the show. I know that Charlotte, I understand you've got to pop off.
Yes.
Oh.
As is now becoming the habit.
Bye, Charlotte.
Yeah, we have overrun again tonight. But thanks for being here, Charlotte. I hope you've had fun. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Hopefully you all have fun next week with us.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Yeah, here we are again for... just to underline the fact we are here for the love of Doctor Who, as we share with you watching on YouTube and Facebook and listening on the podcast, on the panel and in the live chat here on YouTube. There's lots more comments that have come in as we've been talking. So yeah, people generally tired. And Melina Vader says, I desperately want to fall in love with the show.
Yeah, same here.
Nice.
We all feel, it's a simple sentiment, but Barnaby, that's how we fell in love with the show. And when we were children or young adults or whenever you fall in love with it, it's what it feels like, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh gosh, like watching sort of like some of the older episodes, like with Tennant and Capaldi, and classic episodes as well. It's just compare that to modern stuff, and you're just like, oh, I mean, the excitement and the love from older episodes. Yeah, those are the days.
13 says it all, doesn't it? Unlucky for some.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah.
Your kind of generation, and Charlotte as well, that found Doctor Who through New Who, for want of a better word. In many ways, I kind of think it's tougher for you guys because you fell in love with the new series, whereas we, us older generation fell in love with the original series. So you've been cheated more out of it, really. We because we go so far back. We've
loved yourself.
Relatively recently learned to love Doctor Who, and so to have it taken away from you now and turned into a show that you don't love anymore, I just think it's it's got to be tougher in a way for people that have only found the show recently, I think.
It's because sorry, you go now.
Well, I was going to say, if there's one thing that's guaranteed to sort of mainline your love for the show, it's looking at some pretty pictures, Barnaby.
Yeah,
pretty pictures. That's what we want.
How about this one from Neil Cole?
Look at that.
This is from Neil Cole of the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi. Neil's a great artist and a friend of the show, friend of yours as well, isn't he, Simon?
He is. Neil and I go back many, many, many years, and I honestly think that he does a lot of this stuff, and he does it with biro and pencil.
It's pencil, isn't it? That he's done it with.
It's just incredible. And when I saw this one, I must be honest, he's done some cracking artwork, but I think that is one of his best. That I want to see that on TV. I want to see a Dalek like that on TV.
Dalek tendrils everywhere, all that gunk oozing out.
It's beautiful. It's like Alien meets Doctor Who, isn't it? That brilliant.
I was just thinking that on on the left, the tendril that's sort of poking out and slightly trailing down. That does look very, very Geiger-esque.
It's very face hugger, isn't it? Really,
I think it's trying to get back into its shell, isn't it?
I don't know what it's trying to do, but that's a mark of great art. What is it actually doing? You know, we can all read our own interpretations into it. It's just beautiful.
It's a bit too hard.
Beautiful rendering. It looks fantastic in black and white. And as I say, the fact that it's all done with, as I say, it's either biro. I think you could be right. It could be pencils. I know you do a lot with biro. It's just nuts. It's just nuts.
And this is something that Neil, because obviously Neil's Museum of Classic Sci-Fi, it survives largely through the donations of patrons, doesn't it, Simon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Neil opened the museum not long just before COVID hit, only about a year and a half before COVID hit. And so he's had a really tough time with it because he was just getting on his feet when COVID hit. And so he's now having to get back on his feet all over again. But yeah, he's got a very, very, very loyal band of followers and more people finding him and finding the museum every day and coming on board. And he's just, he's the same as us in many respects. He just loves his Doctor Who. There's no side to Neil. He's got a fantastic collection of props that he wants to share with the public, and all credit to him for doing that. He's opened up his entire collection for anybody to go and look at anytime they like, and he's a true gent. We salute.
Another great artist is Daryl Joyce. Daryl has been a painter and illustrator for several decades now, with a particular fondness for all things cult TV, in particular the Jerry Anderson universe and the Doctor Who universe. And just lately, he's been putting out some digital paintings. And I thought this one, Matt, I think you'll like this. This is called The Roof of the World.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Magnificent.
Yeah.
I want that on my wall. I want that on my wall.
I love the lighting.
I wonder if he's taken that from the Big Finish episode of the same name, which is set in Tibet. So that'd be nice.
Well, I think it's his interpretation of a moment from Marco Polo. Simon.
Okay.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist anymore for us to watch, but I think this is maybe how it is in his head.
That's great. It certainly wouldn't have looked like that on a TV series, but yeah, basically they strap the TARDIS to the little whatever you call it, little tumbrel, and just take it, or drag the TARDIS away because they're taking it off to mighty Kubla Khan. Marco Polo basically absconds the TARDIS and the TARDIS crew. And that's just magnificent, isn't it? That's just a beautiful, beautiful rendering of a TARDIS.
I'd love to have that on the wall.
Yeah, I want that on my wall. Magnificent, that. But I'm interested then. So Barnaby, are you saying that, and they've done it? There's a Big Finish episode that's Roof of the World as well. Then.
Yes, but I've just noticed it's the wrong TARDIS because that was a Peter Davison episode. I'm noticing wrong TARDISes all over the place. Actually,
you are indeed.
The eagle-eyed.
Yeah, you're close. I can never spot these wrong TARDISes. They all look the same to me.
My favourite TARDIS is Matt Smith's TARDIS. I love Matt Smith's TARDIS. The new TARDIS. Cool. I love it. Absolutely gorgeous TARDIS.
It's a real lightness of touch, I think, that Daryl employs there, considering that that's digital art. I think he does initial sketches on paper, Matt, but he finishes it off on Procreate.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah.
I like the clouds as well in the
And
background.
there just is something incredibly romantic about the TARDIS itself. I don't know. I've never managed to put my finger on this, but it's just such a romantic, beautiful, simple silhouette. I love the blue. There's just something about the TARDIS. And seeing that kind of setting where it's out of context, it's on the back, but you know what I mean?
Whose TARDIS is it? Whose TARDIS is it?
That's Hartnell's. Billy Hartnell's.
Oh, right, okay. Because if it was Jodie, Jodie would probably be in the snow like that, dead as it's trailing off.
It'd be pink
just like
as well.
dead like that.
Got a scarf called the wagon.
Yeah.
And finally, we've got it would be the same if we didn't look at some 80s
Daleks?
kind of.
No, damn it.
We've had Neil Cole's Daleks. I do have more Daleks. These from the Pride Area.
Look at that.
1980s style Daleks as recreated here digitally by the Pridonian. That's James Johnson on Twitter. Please go and follow James to see his continually
Done a kind
It
of
looks
sort of
fantastic.
imperialistic,
Beautiful
an
digital
Imperial
art.
Dalek Supreme one there. Loving that.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I
that
can't
one-
work out why they haven't used those in the new series at all.
Yeah.
They-
Like
They
I know
should
they
do.
brought them back to that museum bit, but like I just yeah, I know, but it's
But
just,
Matt, they should
I
do
hate those
because
bloody brass ones. It's like
Yeah, I'm with you on
Well, I was
this.
trying to work out whether because they've got all the collars and cuffs, all the fixtures and fittings of the remembrance of the Daleks ones, haven't they? The indentations in the plunge, that would interface the computers, and the ring light that flashes around the sensors on the top. So they are the 1988 ones.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And yet they're coloured a little more like the ones from Revelation of the Daleks. So it's almost as if they're the ultimate version of 80s Daleks. And Matt, aren't those Resurrection? Isn't that the Dalek Supreme from Resurrection of the Daleks on the far right?
It does look like it, yeah.
Yeah, I think you could be
think
right.
So I think there's a bit of everything there.
they should bring these Daleks back because they're Daleks of colour, so the BBC should bring them back. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Absolutely brilliant. People in the chat are also in love with these Daleks. The new series very fittingly had shite.
They did, yeah.
They did indeed.
I always liked the Victory ones as well because they were
the
also
Victory
quite
ones.
basic and and I just
Great looking
I don't know
Daleks,
why they
bring
didn't
them
stick
back.
with them,
People are bored with the Bronze Daleks.
Yeah.
Bronze Dalek needs to go, says Joey.
I agree,
They've
David.
really had their day, haven't they? Bless them. I love that design, but it has had its day, absolutely. Who else is here? They should never have added the pupil to the eye. It kills the animation of them.
Oh, I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know
know.
about that one. Maybe I have to think about that.
I think it could. I think that could depend on how it's shot, how the Daleks are directed, whether they're really embodying their part correctly.
Yeah.
Terry on Tuesday adds, a friend of mine designed the bronze new series Daleks, but I agree they've had enough time now. Yes, it's not just. It's not
Oh,
just us.
they were nice for one story or two stories, but they
I
continually
loved them
brought
for the
them out.
first few years.
There's nothing wrong with them at all, but there's nothing wrong with a lot of the classic series Daleks. But it's just nice to see a bit of a change, and I agree.
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
We've seen in Bronze Daleks.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, yes, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I've had a fantastic time on this edition of Type 40 Live. I hope you guys have too. Thanks to Queen Charlotte Shields, who's disappeared. She'll be back next week, no doubt. Always a pleasure, Charlotte. And to everybody who's watched along on YouTube and Facebook, lots of likes, lots of views. Get sharing us along. People tell me they love the show. Yeah, get sharing it with the other Whovians
Subscribe.
and Hoonatics in your life. You telling me, and what have they got to do?
Got to subscribe, man. You got to subscribe. Do you know what I mean?
Smash that like button, you.
That's right.
That's it. Thanks, Barnaby. Yeah. Like the video, subscribe to the channel,
The
and
best
hit the
Doctor
cloister
Who
bell.
show on YouTube.
So you
Come on.
get those. So you get those notifications about when we're
We
going to
don't
be doing it next.
Painting our fingernails and stuff. It's great.
And yeah, we are back next week with a special show. Not only will we have a full house full of companions, including the return of Terry Cooper, but we're looking into the future. Who's next? We're going to be asking who's next of everybody who's here on the panel. It's a question that we ask ourselves as Doctor Who fans over and over and over again throughout our lives. And we are at that unique point in Doctor Who history, right at this very moment, where we don't know who's next, who they're going to pick. But we want to know, who would each of us pick?
Matt. I'd pick
You know,
Matt.
we're gonna but Matt Pop for Doctor. So
Matt
yeah,
Pop.
we're gonna be
I'm
back.
too close
at
to
you.
Nardole, unfortunately.
We're gonna be back at you next week with Who's Next 2022. With we're gonna wait and keep you guessing as to who exactly is going to be here. But yeah, all our picks, whoever we choose, we're not going to disclose them to one another. We're going to keep them completely secret, so you'll get our cold reactions to one another's picks when we do. And of course, we'd like to hear from you watching or listening along to the show in the chat and in the comments section. Leave us a comment. Yeah, we love all the comments, love all the ideas that our conversations stimulate in you. So please keep those coming in the comment section. And yeah, keep a lookout for the next show. That's coming next week, 7:45 here on YouTube.
We need a doctor with a mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beard.
That's your number one ask.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
I must have a mustache.
Yeah.
And
The
of course,
cushy
there'll
one.
be.
We haven't had
there'll be
one.
other-
That's new.
There'll be other features too. Of course, there'll be the ad break and various other things to look out for. But yeah, that's it this time. We'll see you next week for Doctor Who. Who's next? Thank you to everybody who's been watching along and commenting. What a show. Thank you so much.
Simon loves himself. Did you see that?
Blue Planet. I did see that. Thank you, Blue Planet. Thank you, Paul Murray, Crimpling Doubloon, Archer Colin, Kelly. Going through a few names here. Cam's Crash Course. I'll try saying that after you've had a couple of bevies there, Ian. Vanessa saying good night. People are putting their suggestions in the chat already.
They are, my God.
It's the date, says Lord Thoth. Love late night with the Doctor Who gang. Yeah, that's got a little later, isn't it? And thank you to Mark, The Illusions. Another great show. Thank you. Thank you to you and everybody else who's been watching along. And thanks to you guys, Simon Horton, the original Lunatic, the fantastic Barnaby Jago, Matt Potts here. Thanks for staying up.
Thank you.
For staying in. Whatever you've been doing, it's always good to see you. Come back again soon.
I'm awake.
Don't leave it 5 months next time. And the Mega Geek, Ian David Diaz. That's it for us this time. We'll see you back here next Thursday, 7:45 on the Spacebook channel for more Type 40 Live. But that's it for now. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye. Take care.